Franklin County Board of County Commissioners is now in session. It's good to see you all this morning. I'm glad I've heard that most all of you had an eventful and great trip to the Association of Counties Conference this last week. Let's go ahead and open up in prayer and pledge this morning. Our Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for this day that you have given to us, each and every one of us. Father, we ask you for discernment and understanding, most of all discretion and wisdom, as we go through our agenda today, as we discuss topics not only about our today, but our future here in Franklin County. We thank you for every day you give us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
All right, so,
Mr. Chairman, before you start, could I
Yep.
mention a couple of things?
Yes.
One is, if everybody didn't realize it before, I hope they do by now, we have a new agenda format, slightly changed. I'm using a new program. This program, it's more user-friendly on my end and makes it a lot easier to do the agenda. I also like how it looks, how it sorts the agenda, and overall, it's pretty good. So any questions you may have, please feel free. This is for you guys, the public, everyone. Just give us a call. Give myself or Courtney a call, and we'll explain to you how to do it, but it's pretty straightforward. And one other thing, Pam is currently on a conference call. She said it started at 8:50, I believe. So I told her as soon as that call is over, before she hops on another call, to kind of just log on, turn on her camera, and I'll ask you, sir, that wherever we're at, that we give pause to let Pam
Okay.
give us a current update as to where we are with the storm.
okay, sounds good. All right, so up next is approval of minutes from the last meeting.
Don't think, was it no minutes, or did I miss them? I missed them, didn't I? Oh, okay. Yeah, speaking C, that's, yeah. So Jessica actually loaded them to Municode, so if you don't mind, can we delay, table that?
Okay.
That's on me.
All right.
I forgot to check that yesterday, to get them up to bring them to transfer them to this program,
Okay,
okay?
I thought there just wasn't a link there, so.
Yeah, well, there's no link because I didn't look at Municode where they were to move
Okay.
them over. That's on me, so,
Okay.
okay.
So next will be payment of county bills.
So move.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bolt. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passes unanimously.
And going to my report very early,
Yes.
item number 1 on page 11, in addition to the bill list you just approved this morning, I'm asking the board to authorize a June 23rd special check disbursement that covered travel and expenses for the FAC conference, and a final payment to that contractor, which you already approved, for his work on a HHRP rehab project. So they got that situation worked out, so I need you guys to approve that June 23rd special check disbursement.
Okay.
So move.
Have a motion by Commissioner Parrish, second by Commissioner Lockley. Any discussion?
Yes. Go ahead, sir, I'm sorry.
Okay. Any discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
Aaron is informing me that, same thing you asked about this morning, there was a manual check on
Yes.
Fonda's report that he will bring up. I thought that was part of the regular check run, I didn't realize.
Yeah,
I-
it was a special because they actually won the tournament in between board meetings and also
Right.
travel occurred before the board meetings.
Right.
So that was a $2,500 check, and it'll be on this report.
Okay.
Okay. So should we do that now or just wait and do it on his report?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, okay. We'll come back to it then. All right. So up next, I guess, will be public comment, sir?
Yes, sir. I'll let you know that there were no speaker cards completed for public comments. What you do have in front of you, though, is speaker cards for the Leave No Trace
Public
ordinance.
hearing.
For that public hearing.
Yes.
I will say one of them had a lot of detail in it. I tried to reach back out to them to see if they were going to appear or just they wanted what they emailed in the record. the email kickback, so something was wrong with the email that they used, but that they filled out. So I will say this, and I put one on Attorney Schuler's desk too for his review. I will say this, we have to wait and see when we get to that public hearing, if they're
Okay.
going to speak or not. You could just call for them at
Okay.
that point. But
All right.
otherwise, to that, no one was there.
Okay.
Just double checking of the 2 attendees. Nope, so we're good, sir.
All right, so do we have any public comments in the room?
No, thank you.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
I have to
I
ask.
don't.
It's proper to ask.
Yep, you bet.
All right, well, seeing no public comments, we'll move on to Ms. Michelle Maxwell, Clerk of Courts.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't have anything to report. I am waiting on the response from Emergency Management, and I have a telephone conference with the Chief Judge on the closure of the courthouse, so I really don't have an update. But as
Okay.
soon as I know something, I will let everyone know.
Okay, thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
All right, so Mr. Howard Neighbors, Superintendent of Roads and Bridges.
Morning, Commissioners, y'all hear me?
We can hear you just fine, Howard. Go ahead.
Everything's going good. I got no action item this morning, but it's been dealing with all the rain, been having a lot of rain the last couple of weeks, so got a lot of messed up roads. We had them all fixed at the end of last week. And got a lot more rain and all, but we continue on cutting grass and putting in culverts. And as soon as it dries out a little bit, we'll try to get our roads back in shape. We're still real short of inmates. I think I had a total of 9 inmates this morning, so we're just doing the best we can do.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Howard?
Yes,
Or
sir.
concerns?
With the potential impending storm coming forward and realizing the vulnerability of the Alligator Drive washed out area, and also realizing that the contractor to rebuild that road is on site, what are our plans if that road is washed out again during this storm? Does our county go in there and repair it just like we've done before? Or do you think Columbia Anderson?
Far as I know,
What's
it
that?
would be us, but Howard, did you hear what he was asking?
Yeah, I think it, once it's under contract, I think the contractor is supposed to, I may be wrong on that, but
There is
Okay.
some sort of liability on them.
Yeah, okay.
You think Anderson Columbia would be there?
Yeah, because even the slight little washout that occurred, just I think about a week ago, I think Anderson Columbia, they were supposed to take care of that one.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Now, something major, of course, like the whole
Right.
thing goes, that might be a
Yeah.
different
They
story.
they might want to talk about
Yeah.
that, right?
Okay, just some
Okay,
clarification. Thank
no,
you.
that's a good question,
Very good
Commissioner.
question, Commissioner. Very good question.
Okay.
Very good question, because, yeah, that road's still under peril till it gets a more permanent repair.
But we'll do whatever it takes, Commissioner, to, make sure, if it does wash out or something for the people to get in and out. So
All
if the
right,
water gets too high or whatever, we will close the road off. So,
all right. Anyone else have any concerns or questions for Mr. Howard Wazir? Howard, thank you for everything y'all do, and make sure and tell the people that work for you that they're doing a great job. Please keep it up.
yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Yes, sir. All right, up next, Mr. Fonda Davis, Solid Waste Director.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I have one action item this morning on my report, and it is due to the resignation of Kyle Smith on June 21st, 2021, as an equipment operator in the Solid Waste Department. A position is now available as an equipment operator, asking for a motion to advertise to fill that vacancy.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lockley,
Second.
second by Commissioner Ward to approve this advertisement to fill this vacancy. Any discussion before we vote?
Yeah, Fonda, you gonna do that in-house and out-house?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
The next item on my report is just for board's information. Franklin County softball and baseball will be advancing to state, which the girls' Darlington tournament will be held in Bellevue, Florida, which was the past week of July 1st through the 4th. The boys' AA team will be held in Marana, made around on July the 9th through the 11th of this 2021. A manual check had to be cut before the board meeting for girls team due to the fact of early travel as they was discussing earlier. So I just want to let the board know that it was a manual check cut.
Okay, so is that something we need to
And,
retroactively
yeah,
approve?
Needs
Also-
Action. Yeah, that
Okay.
needs action. That
Okay,
needs-
so we're retroactively approving that check.
Yes.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to retroactively approve that check cut.
all right. We have a
Second.
motion by Commissioner Ward, second
Second.
by Commissioner Lockley. I do have a question. Fonda, when's the date that the Darlings team is going to Virginia to play in the World Series?
Right, I was gonna bring that up next, Commissioner. I do not have the date. I reached
Okay.
out to, Ms. Lee Sheridan, and I hadn't received it yet, but I will keep you posted.
Okay. Yeah,
Mr.
'cause-
Chair, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, would the
That's good.
board mind amending the current motion to go ahead and approve that check also
If it occurs between
yeah.
board.
before the next
Yeah.
board meeting?
We might as well, because they're definitely traveling. They were
Yes, sir.
undefeated.
I'll amend
They
my
are
motion.
state champs.
I'll
All right.
amend my motion.
Commissioner Ward has amended her motion to reflect the travel to the World Series for this girls' team, and Commissioner Lockley has amended his second. Any more discussion before we vote?
I just want to say congratulations to those guys. They worked hard. Congratulations.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's one thing to win. It's another thing to not even be close. They beat every team. The last one I watched, they 10-run ruled them. They beat them
Yes.
14-4. So, I mean, they did really, really good. And they are state champs. So that's something to be proud of.
Yep. They put a lot of pressure on the boys' team, don't they?
Yeah, they do, they do. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passes unanimously. So,
That's all.
Fondo, so we approve that check and the one to come. Go ahead, sir.
Great. Yes, that's all I have, Commissioner.
All right. Anyone have something they would want to ask Mr. Fondo while we're here today? Thank you for your time, Fonda. Y'all keep up the good work and make sure you tell those that are working for you they're doing a great job. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Yep. All right, so Ms. Pam's not here at this current time, so we'll go to Mr. Eric Lovestrand, Extension Office Director.
And I'm sorry, Eric is away on a training.
Okay.
And so he left his report. There's
Mhm.
one thing in Commissioners on his report I found really interesting, and he kind of told me he's going to be at his office. If you go to item 8 on his report, where he talks about receiving a telemedicine station that would allow all UF health patients to access their doctors in Gainesville without
Wow.
having to make that trip. He did tell me that he has a follow-up meeting with his, I guess the people that are handling this from UF
Yeah.
this week, but he said he's thinking that telemedicine machine will be at the new building. That's where they're gonna install it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add that at our conference, Dr. Michael Gutter with UFIFS gave a presentation on this, and is going to be coming. There's only 13 counties participating in this, Franklin being one of them out of the whole state. So that's impressive. He is supposed to be coming to our local UFIFS office, and I was actually going to reach out to Mr. Lovestrand. I will email him after the meeting because I would like to be a part of that. Dr. Gutter's he gave a really good presentation, and so I would like to partake with that presentation when he comes locally to sit
Okay.
down with him and talk, because it was a very good presentation and it was very informative, and I think it's really great so that people don't have to travel that far to a doctor if they don't have to. But then broadband came up, so that's a whole nother
Uh-huh.
realm, but
Yeah.
it was very interesting to say the least, so.
Good. That is excellent.
That is excellent news, actually.
So, Commissioner, does that mean, in your opinion, based on the presentation, that we have a lot of people from Franklin that goes to Gainesville?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do. They're in the Mayo Clinic, and he did bring up the Mayo Clinic as well. So I think they're, from what I could gather, they're gonna hopefully extend it to the Mayo Clinic in addition to the UF.
Okay.
So let me ask, because I wasn't there, didn't see the presentation. Jessica, when they're talking about doing telemedicine, are they talking about they would have to have a nurse here at this office on this end to kind of assist to do whatever the doctor tells them to do, or how does that work?
From what I could gather from the presentation, I don't know if any of the other commissioners were there with me. They had multiple workshops.
Yes, I understand.
And this is one I attended. But to my understanding, it's all about them seeing a doctor on the screen or a healthcare provider on the screen. They even had these modules of like a sphygmomanometer, a stethoscope,
Yep.
things like that the patient, I guess, could take their own blood pressure or
Okay.
these. It was really neat how they had it set up, but they'll on screen see a provider, they'll talk their symptoms, they'll go over their history, ask them questions, and then try to determine a diagnosis from that. And if it warrants them going locally to an office, I guess, and getting checked out, that's something that will happen. But that's kind of why I wanted to go to his presentation when he comes here. He's gonna go to each county that's in this program, and that's why I'd like to go attend this when he does come here to our UF office.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to get a little bit more information. After the class, he was inundated with people, so I'm like, I got his card and his name, and I was gonna reach out to him and try to get with him and ask him more questions when he comes to our local office.
But the reason I was asking about that, the nurse part of it, is just what you talked about, having to have vital signs or, you know, their oxygen or their pulse or, you know what I mean, their, all that stuff. So that's why I was wondering.
Yeah.
There's a setup that I think that, I guess this is something preliminary that you can purchase that has all these items there.
Wow.
And I'm assuming the patient will check their own blood pressure, their own vital signs, and report that.
Okay.
It's pretty neat how they had it set
Yes, sir.
up.
Yes, sir.
Well, they've been doing that at the VA for a little while,
Uh-huh.
and what we do is you'll go to, like, do your blood work the week before,
Mhm.
and then when you get your phone call, it's just like you be in the doctor's office, you just be in your house and you be in his office.
Oh, wow.
But it's good,
Wow.
and it saves you a lot of travel.
Well, I'm glad to hear that Franklin County was one of the 13.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Michael, thank you for pointing that out.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd also like to
Bless you.
point out, if you can begin to see the very nice network that continues to be built here in Franklin County, with this freestanding kiosk concept and access where it would be potentially located in our county, realizing we have a full-time physician in the county, looking how our hospital is building into the area of telemedicine, realizing that we're looking at 2 outpatient facilities that we have in Carabel and in Apalachicola, there begins to be a very nice synergistic pattern that's beginning to happen for the health of our people here in the county. I'd like to support you, Commissioner Ward, and go with you to hear the presentation of this kiosk in our county.
I like it because it's like 4 hours. Well, really, you saving 8 hours of driving.
That's right.
in the game. But if they don't need the body right then,
That's right.
you're good to go.
You're right.
Well, cool. All right, so up next is Ms. Whitney Roundtree, our library director.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Whitney.
Okay, I just wanted to ask you today, permission to close the libraries on Monday, August 23rd for Wilderness Coast Staff Development Day at the Jefferson Library. This is an annual event. We didn't get to have it last year, obviously. But this is where all 3 libraries come together, Jefferson, Wakulla, and Franklin. We have the opportunity to share common library concerns, issues, and resolutions. They booked a speaker for the day. It's Dr. Josh Goodman from the Florida Memory Project.
Okay,
So move.
we have a motion by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bolt, to permit Ms. Roundtree to close the libraries Monday, August 23rd for this Staff Development Day. Any discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passes unanimously. Whitney, please make sure that you notice this well ahead of when you're going to close so the public can be aware.
We will, thank you, and I appreciate that. Any other questions about the library?
Commissioners, any of you have a question or concern for Ms. Roundtree? Whitney, thank you for everything you do, and make sure you tell those that are working with you they're doing a great job. Thank you.
I will, thank you, sir. Take care.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Pam's still not available yet, is she?
Not yet.
Okay. All right, so up next is Mr. John Solomon, TDC Administrator.
Made it big, but still can't see it. Morning, Commissioners. John Solomon, TDC Director. I don't have any action items for y'all today, but I do have some informational items for yourselves and the public. Mayor Brenda Ash will be filling the TDC committee seat for the City of Apalachicola after the passing of Mayor Kevin Begos. The March collections were $149,485. That's an increase of $77,000, or 107.8% increase over March of 2020, and a 17% increase over March of 2019. It's also the highest collections for the month of March by $21,510. April collections were $181,177. That's an increase of $161,111 over 2020, which we all know we're closed most of April. And it's equals to 803% increase, but this is where it really gets interesting. It's also a 120% increase over April of 2019, which we had a good year in 2019. This is the highest collection of the month of April by $77,725. So that's a large increase over 2019.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to ask this question. So what are the restaurants and the, I mean, I know about the hotels, the home rentals, but the restaurants, with the shortage of labor staff,
Yeah,
how are they dealing with this?
Michael, that's one of the things that, you know, the businesses and the restaurants, they're doing better than they've done ever, but they don't have the staff to be able to stay open long enough. The job openings are there, but don't have anybody to fill them. You know, being with the chamber as well, we get that call a lot of being able to actually fill the positions. And there's a list on Facebook of probably 50 or 60 businesses in Franklin County that are looking for employees. And these are not low-paying jobs. These are $15 to $17 an hour jobs. So it's the workforce that we're having an issue with this boom in tourism right now.
Yeah, I know, Michael, some of them have actually, some businesses, especially in East Point, I know, went to, for a while, they were closing 2 days a week, so everybody had the same days off.
Yeah.
They were just closing up and just working 5 days a week.
Yeah,
Because those 5 days, they're wide open the whole day.
Yeah, they have some reduced hours here in Apalachicola for the restaurants, so they can give their staff that is working time to relax. I know the TDC itself started a campaign on social media where we're thanking our hospitality workers. We're trying to get photos and videos of, you know, our workers at their jobs and trying to post them on there and give them thank yous to, you know, encourage others to want to get out in the workforce and to know that we do appreciate the ones that are there, you know, working so hard in this time of year.
I mean, Mr. Chairman, I hear you to close, but imagine 5 days, let's say every restaurant closed 2 days with these numbers. Imagine if they had the staff to open 7 days.
Yeah, oh no, for sure. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know once we get the Visit Florida report mid next year that we get each year that I've provided to y'all in the past, I think our number of how much money is brought into Franklin County for tourism, not just lodging, but everything, is going to be a whole lot higher. And we had one of the largest increases last year than anybody in the state. We went from 5.0 to 7.9% increase of the money. So that's a big increase for a small county, especially like ours. And I think it's going to be larger than that this year once we get that report.
You know what he's talking about, right? He's not talking about just the bed tax.
Yes.
Or the lodging tax. He's talking about the related tax that's being taken in for everything else they're buying
Yes,
over here.
overall.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the bed tax. So imagine the highest increase, but we still have one of the lowest bed taxes in Texas, in the state also.
Yeah, it is. I mean, right now, it's hard. I mean, even when Miss Deb sent me the report, I'm like, really? We're right out at 165% over where we were at the same point last year. I mean, if my glasses aren't wrong, yeah, 165% over where we were at the same point last year. We've collected as much, if not more, than what we had collected at this point, our overage, so.
We've also had the benefit of actually being open all this year.
We have, and that's one of the
As
things
compared
that's
to last year.
been great, and been able to say that we were one of the only counties that actually had an increase last year in tourism. It may not have been a big one, but it was an increase. And finally, just for a little update, the mobile app now has 3,102. At the time I wrote this, it's now 3,148 users on it, which has really been going good this summer, so.
Let me ask-
Yes, sir. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me ask you a question. We're getting these increases and everything, and it look good, it's doing good. But our infrastructure, that's with the parking and the bathroom and the food, ain't that got a possibility of hurting us down the road? I mean, you know, 'cause people say, well, I went there, didn't have this, didn't have that.
Well-
Don't we need to be working on that?
Well, yes, sir, and that's why when we increased or y'all increased the 1% in the tax, with the new budget comes up, you'll see that that entire increase that we put into the budget is all for infrastructure.
It is?
Yes, sir. It'll be listed under infrastructure project per statute for y'all to decide where to spend that money on for infrastructure.
We need to start working on it to keep them all.
We're a little bit
Without-
behind the game. A couple years ago would have been good, but now we're catching up with the game, and we need to start, providing those things you mentioned, sir, so we can accommodate our visitors and make life easier on our locals as well.
Yeah, and that way, people can go home and say, well, I'm going back there, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But when you missing out on things that no way to go for them there, especially bathroom and food, I mean that.
One thing I wish we could help is the labor issue. That's the one thing. I know some restaurants are paying real well. I know in tips. I know one restaurant, a waitress in 22 hours is making about $1,400 a week in tips for 22 hours. It's
Good.
pretty good.
Good. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
with this very optimistic report, with some of the issues that Commissioner Lockley has discussed, it seems to me that it's an appropriate time to potentially pivot on such good accomplishments here, realizing that tourism is one of probably our only economic driver right now. Should we not consider the development of a voluntary economic development board to look at the entire issues of our county?
We are.
I wanted to bring up this point and perhaps springboard on this very positive report and think of it as an entire county-wide issue now. And I'd like to have that considered, and I would be happy to make a motion that we develop an economic advisory board for the county-wide issues that we are seeing.
Commissioner, we're waiting on the people from the Regional Planning Council to get back to us. They've already started all of that technical assistance. They have everything ready. They just haven't been able to schedule a time to be with us.
Okay.
But they have that ready to present to us for us to potentially take action on forming an economic development council for here in Franklin County.
Okay, excellent.
Yep.
Thank you.
Did they say how long you gonna
No, sir, I thought it had been by now, to be honest with you. I know everybody's busy, but I will. Mr. Morone, will you check with Chris Rito this week and get us an update of when that might actually take place?
I will. Actually, Commissioner, you and I need to set up I'm gonna try and expedite that meeting. We have like 3 different concerns on the
Yes.
floor that we need to talk to Mr. Rito
Yeah.
about that he should be
Okay.
working on us. With the court enforcement being another one.
Yes,
So, yeah.
but we do need to make sure we find an answer so the rest of the commission can know
I will.
when, and we can move on that item instead of it delaying.
Okay, good.
How about if we tell them, if they don't give them a certain time, if they can't do it, we don't have to move on?
Right.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Right.
I will, sir.
All right, anyone have any questions for Mr. Solomon or concerns? Other than what we've spoken while he was here? John, thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
John.
Y'all have a
Good,
wonderful
appreciate it.
afternoon.
All right, tell everybody that's working with you, we said thank you, you're doing a great job.
Thank you,
Yep,
sir. Will do.
Thank you.
You're doing good.
Mr. Ted Mosteller, interim airport manager, you're up next, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
As stated in my informational data here, we've been very busy getting things done. We've got a lot started, and I would like to echo the same situation at the airport that John just alluded to about the shortage of staff, people, workers. This past week, recently, this couple weeks ago, I attended the, on June 24th, the CFAS meeting. That's the FDOT CFAS in Tallahassee. And that was reiterated up there about the labor shortage. There's several things that are in the mill I have going on. Update the 5-year JASA program, update the airport security plan, and update the FAA 510 airport master record. Of course, we're still in the eye of this hurricane, so to speak. And speaking of the generator from last meeting, I have a quote from Ring Power, right at $5,000, which is under the $7,000 I quoted last meeting. But that does not include the injector pump. So that's another item to be added to it. It appears that everything generator is in back order, 2 to 5 months. I don't know if you all are aware of this or not, but they did quote new replacement of 50,000 using the old fuel tank and 68,000 with a new fuel tank. I have listed here some items that I could use to get this generator online if needed, especially for this hurricane, including diesel fuel, filters in the battery, etc. I would like permission to purchase those.
So, Mr. Ted, I want to ask a question.
Sure.
Did you get the quote you're saying you have from Ring Power?
Yes, sir.
Did you get a quote that's something on paper that the board can look at and that we can actually consider? Or because they're saying some stuff's on back order, you just kind of got a verbal quote? I just want to know where we're going, because I understand stuff being back ordered, but that's something none of us can do anything about.
Sure.
But I do know that, I think, I'm speaking for the rest of the board, I'm assuming I am. I do know that we're fine with doing whatever repair needs to take place to this generator. We'd have to have a valid quote so we can look at it and take action on it. As far as doing the stuff in between, the only concern I have about that, not about getting a battery or filters, that's normal maintenance stuff. But if you're having to bypass some kind of safety switch to make the generator start, I mean, that could potentially lead to an issue, is the only way I know to say it.
That would be strictly an emergency situation.
Okay. You know what I mean? That's my only concern.
Yes, sir.
Because not only are you doing it, but we've publicly spoken about you bypassing it.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? So,
Well, the only
that's
one
an
I'm
issue.
disconnecting, sir, is the coolant. And if I have it running, which I have had in past, I'm there monitoring it and watching it.
What kind of motor's on this generator?
It's a John Deere. It's basically the same engine that are in the 2 tractors we have. It's approximately 100 horsepower John Deere.
Okay. Yes, sir.
You said, the people said they'll fix that thing for $5,000. Well, why you ain't get it fixed?
Sir?
Why you ain't, you got, first of all, you got the money in your budget. Did you got the money in your budget to get it fixed?
Well, up to this point, I have no authority to spend any money.
I just wanna know, if you got money in the budget to get that thing fixed?
Yes, sir. Yeah, $5,000, you know, that would be fine for the airport fund.
Well, why we,
Well, because 5,000 is just part of
I
the
know.
repairs that needs to be done. What the board asked him to do by motion is to get a written proposal to basically overhaul the entire generator. Because one of your concerns were what happens, the way he bypassed it, it has to be started manually. If the ring power guy fixes it and puts it back where it starts automatically, it doesn't matter if Ted is close by, away, whatever, it would start. So what the chairman was alluding to, the board wants a full written proposal to totally overhaul the generator and get it working in the way it's supposed to work without any bypassing. And in addition to that, Commissioner, y'all also put a restriction last meeting as to how much money he could spend without coming to the board.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm talking about like a generator and the weather bad. We got a storm coming. And it's just the beginning. It's gonna be storm the rest of the year and in the winter. So instead of spending time on, just ask the people how much it costs to fix to get the whole thing going.
That's
That's all we need, a quote.
Yep, a full quote.
Yes, sir.
We need them people to send us something saying this could take care of this and it gonna be running.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Well, going back to the Chairman's question about is it written or is it verbal? It is verbal at this point. However, the mechanic that gave me this on the phone is currently, as we speak, at the hospital doing the same thing out there.
Yep.
Okay, but then send some paperwork. All we need is paperwork.
Okay.
That's the bottom line. I mean, they can put that in their hotline and email you that.
As a matter of fact, I believe we had a discussion, I have to go back and look at the minutes. I thought you guys said if I got the quote and it was reasonable, I could send it to each of you, and then I could sign off on it, and then I'll get you guys to ratify it at the next meeting.
right.
So we could move along quickly to get this done, because lucky enough, what's coming is just a tropical storm. Who knows what's coming next week, you see? So we
Nothing.
wanted to expedite that, yeah.
Nothing's
Okay,
coming
nothing,
next week.
yeah, okay. I
Mr.
want
Chairman.
something I don't
Yes,
want.
sir.
Should this quote include the rebuilding of the injector pump?
Yes.
I mean, without
Yes.
that, all this
Yeah.
other stuff ain't no
Yes.
good, no way.
Yes.
I mean, so
Yeah.
we need a total quote
That's a
Yes.
comprehensive.
of what it takes to make this generator run,
The way it's
not a
supposed to.
partial quote.
Yes,
Right,
For the control board, we need the whole thing to make it run.
yes.
yep.
Exactly.
And as far as this fuel, there's another question on here about it needs fuel from the road department or local vendor. How's the road department gonna haul fuel to him? We got some way of doing that?
That's a que-
Yes,
that's a
sir,
good
we
question.
do.
Is there a
They
tanker
do.
truck? They do?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
They bring it over 100 gallons at a time in their truck.
okay.
They've done this in the past. It's with normal routine. My last time, we just pick up the phone, call Buster, and
Okay.
he would send out a truck.
So,
Can you handle that, Mike? Because he needs a PO. All
Yeah.
you gotta do is call the road department, tell them to haul him 100 gallons of fuel.
He does need a PO now, though.
Yeah, that's how he works, but we're doing that prior to getting the quote and getting it fixed, or afterwards?
well, here's what I would say. Just because, where we're at now, the generator can't function at all, apparently,
Yeah,
without some of this routine maintenance stuff, the battery, the filters, that's just normal everyday stuff.
Mhm.
That's gonna be one less thing they have to change when they come out anyway.
okay.
Yeah.
So between doing that routine maintenance, knowing that we're only gonna crank that generator if it's an emergency, and getting a PO to have the fuel in it, I think we're,
Yeah,
you know what I mean, we're doing what we can for now, till we get that quote and get it taken care of.
yeah. And I would ask Ted that because of the situation with the generator, that if you have to, if you're going to crank it in an emergency, at least at a minimum, the chairman, myself, we're aware of it, so that we
Yeah.
know it's running without it being fixed the way it should be.
Right.
Okay. One note, our past airport manager did send out Ring Power to service it probably 6 or 8 months ago. And he would not service it because of the situation that he couldn't start it automatically.
Right, right. Oh, no, they won't do that.
Yeah, cause
They're not gonna do that.
they'll be live.
The oil change was last April 29th, 2018.
Right.
That's how long the oil has been in it.
But it probably goes by hours though, correct? Not necessarily by
Um,
time?
Yes,
Yeah.
but the filters, each one has the date written on them
Right.
when he changed them last time.
Right, right.
But, you know, my thing is this, if you get us the quote, then we can make a judgment. We can either say we're gonna fix this, or we need the new one.
Well,
Right now, we don't know.
let me point this out. I'm sure you know, if you tear into something like this, you don't know up front exactly what you're going to find. And that's possibly part of the reason I can't get so far, a written report.
Right.
He may change his board, and of course, he's gonna find this sensor bad that I've identified. But, and with the fuel injector pump, he doesn't know what's wrong with it. It may be a simple filter, seal to change. It may be a complete overhaul. And I've been quoted up to $2,000 to do that, so.
Well, we ain't gonna let them break down and get to a $2 part and not gonna fix it.
Yes, sir.
What we're gonna do is, I mean, you know, if the motor bad or good, that, it might come to that then, but, you know, if the thing can be fixed, we need it fixed, and you need it fixed.
Yes, sir.
'Cause I think one of the things, if I may, Mr. Chairman, one of the things Commissioner Lockley discussed too is that once we look at the quote, like he just repeated, is it worth fixing or just get a new one? That's something we talked about the last meeting. So if we get and Ted, if it's a worst case scenario, and if you're comfortable that you would prefer he gives you a worst case scenario quote, go for it. I mean, we
At
need to know.
At this point, I am.
Yeah.
However, as you know, that generator is slated to be replaced by the EOC money sometime in the near future, but no one can quote when.
When?
Next week,
That's another problem.
next year,
Yes, sir.
2, 3, 4, 5 years, nobody
And
knows.
then when it's approved, Ted, when will you actually get it?
Yep.
That's another problem.
Yep.
You know? So-
And like I mentioned earlier, everything's back ordered now and big stuff like that.
Well,
Yeah, like our street.
let me ask another question. If it need to be replaced, and we have to replace before the paperwork come from the big folk replacement, won't they accept that?
Oh.
Will they accept that, or they'll say you done done it?
That's a Pam question.
Yeah.
I mean, just leave that one there.
I mean,
Commissioner Lockley, that's a, yes, Ted, let's you and I not venture into that, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, basically what you're needing right now is a motion to allow for the cost of the battery, the filters, and fuel, correct? And the
Yes,
fuel
ma'am.
additive?
With that,
And-
I can make the generator run.
Okay.
Or at least I have been
I'm
able
go-
to up to this point.
Okay, I'm gonna motion for that,
Okay,
and I'll also will include in my motion, again, for you to get actual quotes of the generator, full repair versus partial repair, to get it where it's, you don't have to bypass anything for safety purposes, and get that to us so that we can, on paper, so we can look at it and try to figure out what
Okay.
direction to take from that point.
Okay, one quick note, the sensor is, I don't know how much it costs. Chairman, you could tell me, probably more than I could guess. It's just a transducer that screws into the engine.
It depends, source of supply. If it winds up
Understand.
being a John Deere only part, there's no telling.
Yes,
I'm just being honest. I've seen transducers be $40, and I've seen them be $340.
okay.
So there's no
I ask a
telling.
question. Mr. Ted, are you certified to change all this stuff?
I'm sorry.
Is you certified to change this stuff?
Yes, sir, I have no problem with it.
no, he's asking if you were certified.
Oh, am I certified?
To work on a generator.
No. I'm not a diesel mechanic per se, no. I'm a shade tree mechanic, I'm an A&P mechanic, aircraft mechanic, but certified there, but not as a diesel mechanic.
Well, you might need to leave that alone, put
And-
somebody there.
I think that's what the chairman was alluding to earlier about liability, that if
Yeah.
something goes wrong, and we have it on the record now that, you know,
Yeah.
we allowed Mr. Mosteller, who's not certified to do that, how liable will we be? And I'm purposely not looking down the table at the attorney, so I'm just looking directly at you, sir, so, yeah, you know. So I think that's what the chairman was actually trying to get
Well,
at.
basically, what we're talking about here is just general maintenance, like
Yeah,
Mr.
maintenance
Chairman
items,
said.
though. I don't think maintenance items are, as far as the battery and the filters, I don't really think you can do that wrongly.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
You know what I'm saying? The filters only go in one way. I don't think that can be done wrong. It's a regular maintenance item.
Yeah.
Well, I ain't trying to be smart.
No, I didn't say you weren't, sir.
No, that-
But I
Didn't
just
say you
want,
weren't.
That's a valid
I want it right.
Yep.
You know, we
Yeah,
need this
right.
thing right.
Yep.
And then we need to move on with the meeting.
Yep.
Talking too much.
So we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Ward.
I'll second.
We have a second by Commissioner Bolt. Any more discussion on this item before we vote?
Just want to make sure at one point, we're going to patch what we got, but we also have a long-range plan to replace the whole system. And that's, I understand that contingent, that plan is contingent upon the EOC coming through with some support there. Is that correct?
It's contingent right now upon a valid quote in writing.
Okay.
If I may, I would prefer, Commissioner Bolt, that you don't use the word patch, that he's gonna do some, normal maintenance on the generator, but the long-term plan is to, yes, get a quote to do a comprehensive overhaul on the generator, and hopefully we could do that, and then hopefully the new generator will come in, like you're saying, through,
Okay.
emergency management, grant.
Okay, so there's 3 points then. General maintenance right now, long-term stability of what we have, and then in the long distance, we're looking for an entire new generator system.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any
So I'll
more
make my
discussion before we
motion
vote?
seconded on that issue.
Okay. Any more discussion before we vote? All in favor? All opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you, Commissioners. We did, our committee on airport manager replacement, we did meet Friday, and we don't have anything to report, particularly at this point, though.
Okay.
In order to resolve another problem, we have a licensing inspection that we were gigged on recently. I have communicated with the FDOT, and there apparently is money available for flight obstruction, vegetation eradication. I would like permission to pursue this. I've contacted several people. I've got a word back from 2. One is outfit in Mariana called Spanish Trail Lumber Company, LLC. Another is the local Brooke Varner of East Point, or JBV. And the price we're looking at is somewhere in the neighborhood of $150,000. And FDOT, say, like I mentioned, apparently has this money available. I would like to pursue this, if we may, please, sir. I would ask for a joint participation agreement covering the cost from FDOT, and then it all go out for bid.
So move.
We have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Bolt.
I'll second with question.
We have a second by Commissioner Ward. Go ahead with your question, Commissioner Ward.
The grant, and Aaron, you might can help out with this, is that something that you guys will work on together, or is that something that you'll do? Or I just want to make sure that we have a commonality with each other so that there's nothing that gets missed, no T's crossed, no I's not undotted, to make it more seamless in the transition if we do go out for this grant. And I just want to make sure that you guys will work together on that, or however that.
We absolutely would work together. It's staff and FDOT and engineering.
Okay.
Engineering, as I quoted in here, has said about $150,000.
Okay.
I'm not sure the process today, because my experience is 8 years old, but requested JPA from the FDOT, bring it back here. Chairman will sign it with your permission, and then we'll go out for bid and go from there.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Chair, oh, I'm sorry.
Question.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Are any of these RPZs having to do with private property?
No, sir. We're strictly talking about airport
within the
owned or
airport
county
fence.
owned. Yes, sir. Everything's in the RPZs.
So I have 2 questions. Number
Sure.
one, if we do get a grant like this, we need more than just cutting stuff down. They also have to take up stumps and stuff like that, correct?
It'll be left in a situation where it can be bush hogged, or just mowed like the rest of it is
Right.
being mowed at this
So
moment.
stumps will have to be removed.
Stumps will be removed,
Okay.
everything.
Okay.
Brooke, I don't know if you're familiar with Mr. Vonner over in East Point.
I know him very well.
I figured you did.
Yep.
his machine, he has two of them.
Yes.
It's big mulching machines,
Mhm.
and it just eats everything in its path,
Yep,
down to the ground.
yep, it does,
And then we can run a mower over it.
right.
The problem, quote in here, it was last done between the two runways, or between those two areas, back in 1999, and everything was cut down, stumps and everything were left in place, but it was burned,
Right.
expecting it to rot. Well, it didn't rot in time to be able to bush hog it.
Right.
So now it's grown back up 20 and 30 feet.
So, so by us voting on this today, we'll actually be asking Aaron Griffin to pursue this grant, correct?
That's all I was gonna ask. Are we applying for the grant? That's what the
That was
motion is.
kind of what I was
Yeah.
asking as well.
Okay,
I
so
want
we're
to make
applying
sure
for the
everything's
grant.
seamless.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, all right, cool.
Okay.
And if we get a grant, then we follow up, like you said, Ted, with somebody doing the RFP or RFQ, whatever we do to get the bids,
Yes, sir.
seal bids, whatever, okay.
Yep.
Cool,
The bids would be based on a per acre.
okay.
I've learned that if you get too many hands in the bucket, so to speak.
Yes.
Things get confusing and one thinks someone else is doing something and they're not, and that's how things get missed and things fall through the cracks. And I want to make sure that
Yeah.
it's seamless, and if we do go for this grant, that it's easy and everybody
Yes.
will get it and there's no.
Well, this is a
Bring
tried and
hands in the
true,
pot.
proved process.
Yeah. So basically, what the board is now doing is directing Mrs. Griffith to apply for this grant.
Right.
And then we'll go forward from there, based if we're successful or not, correct?
Right.
We're good?
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
I wanted to make sure that was clear because, as we all know, government does move slow anyway. But if we all think, if 3 or 4 people think we're all working on the same thing and nobody's doing it, it's even slower.
Been there, done that.
So did we, Jessica, do we have a motion and second on that?
Yes.
Where we at?
Yes.
Okay.
One more comment,
Just wanted to
please.
clarify. Yes,
Just want to make sure as we think about this grant and where we're going with it, that, and I know we're thinking about this, but it's not only this lower bushes and stuff like that around the RPZ, but that aerial concern of planes approaching and departing that runway, that we're looking at tree height cut downs and removal of trees to make all of that a high-quality approach.
Yes, that's all FAA regulation.
Right.
Good. Okay.
Part 77, Civil Airport Imaginary Surfaces.
Okay.
okay. So are there any more discussion before we vote on pursuing this grant? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passes unanimously, Jessica.
That's a good thing.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioners.
You have a good day.
Basically, that's it. I do make mention of automatic counter in here for your information. I would like to keep looking into this. This is sanctioned by the FDOT, where this automatic counter is out there. It counts all operations on the field, which currently we're only counting the ones that go through the FBO. But all those numerous,
Which would be good for us.
Yes.
Yeah. the
it
better
should
count.
be, yes.
Oh, Aaron says possibly. So, two things. I'm sorry, Ted, I didn't mean to cut.
No,
you.
go ahead.
We're good. No, a few things. Aaron has an item that we wanted to discuss while Ted is here, and so do I. But I have Pam up there waiting to talk to the board to give you an update before she hops on her next call.
Yes.
So no pressure, but I just want to.
Yes, Aaron, Miss Aaron does have something very important.
Yes.
So,
No, we could finish.
here, go ahead.
Hey, Pam, are we good for, you could just wave to me. Are we good for a couple more minutes and then we come to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Item number 7, which is Franklin County received an $800,000 grant from the Florida Department of Transportation for the complete replacement of the runway 624 and associated taxiway lighting systems. The original construction contract did not include the replacement of the PAPI, which is the Precision Approach Path Indicator lights on either end of the runway. The PAPI lights are powered by the same circuit, yet have been non-operational and no longer supported by the manufacturer. Airport engineers Avcon are suggesting the lights be replaced with new LED PAPI lights. The attached change order with TCA Electrical Contractors for $56,000 will replace the PAPI lights as part of the existing grant. FDOT has agreed to pay for the additional work so long as the project is completed prior to the grant expiration date of October 29, 2021. Looking for board action to approve the change order number 1 for the runway 624 and taxiway B and D lighting rehabilitation project to include the replacement of the PAPI lights.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Bolt, second by Commissioner Ward.
With comment,
Go ahead, sir.
that deadline is almighty with labor issues and
Yes.
all and so on. I want to be sure that we get this thing done before that deadline.
Right, and it has to be completed by then.
Yes, sir.
Not started. Yep. Any more discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
And thank you for explaining to me
There you go.
exactly
That's
what
great.
PAPI stands for.
Yes.
Good. Okay, straight down to the
Thank you,
bottom of the
Ted.
page.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Appreciate it.
Hold on.
Oh, Ted, one more
Hold
thing.
on.
Because, same page, where am I? Nope, I'm sorry. I take that back. Item is my last item. It is, I'm sorry, page 13, item 8. Opportunity Florida is offering to create an overhead drone video of the airport at no cost to the county that will be used to promote our airport for possible economic opportunities. If the board is interested, which I typed that wrong, in the creation of this video, I will meet with Opportunity, let me rephrase that. Commissioner Ward and I will meet with Opportunity Florida to discuss this project further. And Ted, what I would do is, once we get that meeting set up, I would like you to attend, so that if you have any concerns as to when they fly this drone, where they're gonna fly, make sure it's not interfering with any patterns, that you're there at the meeting also.
Just let me know
So,
when, sir.
What I just need to know from the board, is the board interested in this possible project? It's a way.
Great idea.
What it is, basically, you guys, Commissioner Ward could explain a lot better than I could. A lot of people come to Opportunity Florida and say, hey, do you have this amount of property with this building or potential we could build this building? If they have this drone overhead shot of the airport, it's an easier sell, basically, is what it is. And I'll stop talking so Commissioner Ward could jump in there, since she is our representative.
I mean, like you said, you pretty much nailed it on the head. I think it'll be a great opportunity. I think there's a drone program at the school, so perhaps they can incorporate some students from the school in addition to this. I think I've got a conference call, the next meeting with Opportunity Florida, I think is next Wednesday. I will be bringing this up and asking Mr. Baker about it and trying to get a little bit more information, but I think it's a great idea. Do we need a motion to proceed?
As a direction for now. The motion would be after we get more information, Commissioner, then we'll come back and ask the board for a motion. But I just want to make sure everybody's on board with us proceeding. You didn't have any concerns about it that you'd like brought up at the meeting?
So you'd just be proceeding with the meeting?
Yes, that's
Okay,
all.
yes.
Just if you guys are interested to find out more about it,
I
that's all.
think that'd be good.
Good, okay, that's all I had. Thank you, Ted.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Ms. Pam?
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Morning.
Not a whole lot of change as far as the track of Elsa. She has shifted a little bit more to the east, but could shift back at any time. They have put Dixie County under a not only a tropical storm warning, but also a hurricane watch. So the track is pretty consistent. They think that it's going to go in somewhere between Perry, Dixie, up in there. But again, could do some strengthening. We're still looking at the same values that we had yesterday. 1 to 2 feet of surge down around Alligator Point. Now that's going to come in at high tide. So yeah, 4 feet of surge at down around in the early morning hours of tomorrow. Once it makes landfall, it should go through pretty fast. We're still not looking at a whole lot of rain. So that's one of the reasons that we decided not to open up sandbags, because we're not going to have that much rain. It's going to go through pretty quick. Other than that, it's just waiting. It's just waiting and see. And again, with each update, see if she's moved more to the west or more to the east.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Pam.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, that's what I was going to ask Ms. Pam about the sandbags. I had someone call me this morning right before the meeting asking if there were going to be any available, but you just said not. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, with the little rain that we have on, and again, a sandbag really not going to keep the water from coming in, may slow it down a little bit. So, and once we open up sandbags, there's no way of knowing who all's getting them, and a lot of times they really don't really go to do what they're supposed to do.
Thank you.
My report,
Go ahead.
five action items on my report this morning. The first one is to request the board's approval and signing of the Emergency Preparedness and Assistance Grant, our EMPA, the amount of $105,806.
Let's see, sir.
So move.
All right. I have a motion by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bolt for approval, signing this grant. Any discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
Second, request the board's approval and signing of the Emergency Management Performance Grant at the EMP grant of $53,504.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Parrish,
Second.
second by Commissioner Ward to approve signing this grant. Any discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
Third, request the board's approval and signing of the Emergency Management Performance Grant. They are calling it REP plan, the amount of $13,926.
So move.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Parrish to approve signing this grant. Any discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
Number four is to request the board's approval and signing of the statewide mutual aid agreement and the resolution that is attached to it.
So move.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bolt. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's also
Number-
unanimous. Go ahead.
Number five is to request the board to retroact the local state of emergency for Tropical Storm Elsa that was signed by the board chairman, 7/5 at 11:45.
Okay,
That is not on the agenda, but that's
No.
something that happened yesterday, so it's
Right.
too late to get it on there.
right,
But it's a local state of emergency, just in case, that's all it's for.
yeah.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Lockley,
Second.
second by Commissioner Parrish and Commissioner Bolt. Any discussion before we vote? Michael, since this is administrative in nature, sorry, Michael Schuler, Attorney Schuler, I'll quit calling you by your first name, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Since it wasn't on our agenda, do we need to call for a public comment before we take
Yes,
action?
I would not call a declaration of emergency administrative. It is
Right,
definitely
okay.
substantive, so I would call for
Okay.
public comment.
Okay. Sir?
All right, if
Since
anybody
we've
would like to
allowed
comment
us
on
to
this
comment.
before the board takes action, please hit the raise hand feature. Because everybody that's on there right now is on there by a smart device of some
Okay.
sort. Asking once, twice, 3 times. No one, sir.
Okay. Anyone in the room want to comment? I'm not trying to single you out. It's procedure, you have to do it. Okay, well, seeing there's no public comment, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
It just went, so we
Under
already set
any
up.
umbrella we need to be under, yes, sir.
Yeah, we covered now.
Yes. All right, go ahead, Ms. Pam.
That's all that I have, Commissioner, and we will keep y'all updated as we're updated by the state and the National Weather Service.
Okay, did we do any kind of update this morning for the eastern end of the county?
We have just gotten off of and we're working on it as we speak.
Repeat that, Pam. I saw you, a couple of your words cut out. Say again?
We have just gotten off of a 9:30 conference call, so we're working on putting out something.
Okay.
Right. Okay, but you haven't put out anything yet for the eastern end of the county?
Other than what we pushed out yesterday afternoon,
Okay.
Commissioner, yesterday afternoon that evacuations, voluntary evacuations
Right.
would start at
Okay.
8 this morning. We pushed that out yesterday afternoon, so everybody knew when they got up
Right.
that, if they were gonna leave, that they need to get their stuff. If they wanna stay, they know they have to shelter in place and what they need.
And most of that was just because that road is always in peril till it gets fixed.
Yeah.
The surge,
Yeah.
it'll cut them off.
Thank you, Ms. Pam.
Mr. Chair, I have two things, since Pam is here, in
Yep.
case you guys have questions, I think Pam can answer them better than I could. Item, on page 12, number 3 in my report, Ms. Tracy Busby submitted a change order for the chairman's signature that extends the HLMP contract date from June 30th, 2021 to December 31st, 2021. This extension was approved by Florida Department of Emergency Management. Due to the pending deadline, the chairman signed the change order on June 22nd, 2021. Board action to ratify the chairman's signature on the HLMP change order.
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Parrish, second by Commissioner Lockley. In discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
And right after that, item number 4, as the board is aware, Ms. Tracy Busby has been working on the county's behalf on the American Rescue Act plan. I just saw Pam use that term. The funds in the same manner that she worked on the CARES Act funds. However, she's doing this without an approved task order. So for her to get paid, she needs a task order. Board action to authorize the chairman's signature on the task order, allowing Ms. Busby to continue her role as the county's consultant for the American Rescue Plan funds.
So move.
Have a motion by Commissioner Ward for approval, second by Commissioner Lockley. Any discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
And Commissioners, hopefully that she will have some kind of guidance from the feds and the state before next meeting, and she'll be on the agenda to explain, as she did with the CARES Act, where we are, how we can spend this money, the deadlines, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
They taking a long time.
Ooh, son.
I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah. But that's it. That's the two items I had for the board while Pam was still online.
Okay.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you, Ms. Pam. Keep up the good work and tell everybody in your office y'all are doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
You sure?
Ms. Pam,
You sure? Hey, Jen.
hold on.
I'm
Commissioner
sorry.
Lockley
Yes,
had a
sir.
question, sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Y'all put out a bulletin yesterday. It's not mandatory, but I think it should be mandatory, because I mean, that's something we got to discuss later. But when you're dealing with the road and the water, that road, what, 10, 12 feet from the water?
Less than that.
Yeah, it's closer than that. Well, you get something making up like this,
Yeah.
it could be a winter storm, it's gonna wash out that road.
It's gonna come in on high tide too.
Yeah, and we gonna have, you don't have no stoves down there or nothing. But the people gonna, when it's over, they want us to fix it right then. Hey, it gonna take time, so we need to set up something better and getting them in situation like this. Because we know that's gonna happen. That road going out. I done seen it go out in lesser thing than this. Well, I don't know, but we got.
And Commissioners, that's why we sent it out yesterday afternoon, because most of those people that are permanent residents down there,
Yeah.
they're not going to leave. We don't have any shelters, and Leon County has not opened any shelters because it's a tropical storm.
Yeah.
That's why we did voluntary, so they could go to a hotel or friends and family.
Well, I'll make a motion that you contact FEMA and tell them it's putting us in a sticky situation the way they haven't sent their money for to fix this road and stuff. And now we in another hurricane season, and it's gonna get bad one time, and it's gonna make this county look bad.
That's why we sent out an email yesterday afternoon that solid waste and the road department needed to get out this morning and make sure that they document, especially Alligator Point, because federal government's getting real sticky on. In fact, they come out with some new ruling about roads, especially submerged roads that go underwater.
Well, you know, they gonna do that anyway, but it ain't, I don't think it's fair to make that road department come out and stay up all night, and you know this was finna happen.
Here's one thing that has
People
happened
that, yeah.
that I think may be somewhat comforting. The first thing that Anderson Columbia did when they came on site on June 7th, they brought an excavator in and began to organize all that scattered riprap, boulders, and broken concrete, and they organized it in a straight line seaward for 1,250 feet. So there's probably 2.5 to 3 feet high riprap right now that's organized along that road seaward that was not there in prior storms. Not a cure-all, but perhaps a wave action breakup that we did not have before. So there's something as we begin, but you were right.
I hope y'all do good down there, but you know,
Yeah.
I just look like we always get the worst. Y'all get the worst end of the deal still. When it comes high tide, that gonna make it super bad.
Yeah, you're right.
You get wind with that.
Yep, you're right. And high tide.
It might cut it in half. I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I don't think, Commissioner Lockley, I don't think you need a motion for that. A simple directive to ask Pam to just send him a letter saying, look, here's the position we are in. How can you help us, help our citizens, you know, because the situation. Yeah, you could just, I think just asking her to do that is fine, sir.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I mean, I just save you the motion, basically.
Well, I just hear the motion. Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you, Ms. Pam.
All right.
All right, up next is Ms. Lori, Ship Administrator.
Hey, Lori, good morning. You can unmute, Lori? Lori?
Is she there?
Let me do this, see if this helps. Maybe commissioners, you guys might consider a break. Let me
Yeah,
figure
let's
out
do
why
that.
Lori.
All right, let's recess for
Can you hear me
5
now?
minutes.
Yeah,
you
well,
there?
you're there.
Lori.
Yeah, we
Sorry,
can-
I had it muted. I didn't realize I did. So for the Hurricane Housing Recovery Fund, at the May 4th meeting, you approved a mobile home replacement bid for 522 Oyster Road with a total not to exceed $81,324.05. So that it consisted of the mobile home, a possible engineered foundation, and a pump out and inspection that has already been paid. So the engineered foundation is not required. But due to a miscommunication with the building department, it turns out that this home is required to be a Wind Zone 3 Exposure D home. Ironwood Mobile Homes has canceled the previous ordered home, and the new price for this applicant's home is now $85,027.21, plus the septic inspection that was already paid for $425, for a total of $85,452.21. I am requesting a motion to accept this change in the price for 522 Oyster Road from $81,324.05 to $85,452.21.
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Parrish to approve.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lockley and Commissioner Bolt, I believe. I do have a question, Lori, before we vote on this.
Sure.
So the whole, maybe it's coming about because at the ship office, you guys haven't really done a lot of mobile homes, but the Wind Zone 3, Exposure D is actually federal.
Right.
It's passed on by the state, and we're supposed to enforce it. So any mobile homes
Correct.
within 1,500 feet of the water has to have that. So that, I mean, I understand what you're saying, the
Correct.
narrative. That doesn't really fault our building department to make sure, we just have to make sure it's done. So it,
Yes,
you
sir.
know, when you're doing mobile homes, that's the rule. And actually, the only two counties in North Florida that have this rule are us and Gulf County, just so you know. So
Yes,
I
sir.
I don't know, the last thing I'll say, I don't know how you got a wind zone 3 exposure D trailer for $85,000, but that sounds good. We'll go from there.
Thank you. And that's all I have today.
Okay,
We have to vote
so,
on it still, don't we?
do what?
Don't we have to vote on it still?
Yeah, we still have to vote on it. Is there any more discussion before we vote?
Yeah,
Yes.
not on that, but she said that's the only thing she got.
She did. Can we vote on this and then you go to something else? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously. Go ahead, Commissioner Lockett.
Man, I mean, Ms. Laura, did us governor give us any money?
Yes. Oh,
For
Lori,
ship?
yes, regular ship money? Yeah, let Lori explain. Lori, he's asking if, I thought I reported that, I'm sorry, at the last meeting. We did get our no, oh, Commissioner, you might have been here, it's a lot.
Yes, our 350,000.
Yes.
We should get that sometime in October.
Okay. That's good. So I know one time you didn't know, I wasn't here when they announced it last meeting.
I apologize, sir, yes.
But, okay, we're good to go. So we can continue. We won't have no break in there. We can
Right.
continue to work on people hard.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes, sir.
But let me, Glory, before you go, but we're back to how it was before all this. So we're back to just ship money where we have the rehab, the down payment assistance, and emergency repairs. No more, a replacement for trailers, no more HHRP money once you close this program out, correct?
Right, once I close it out, we had the 1.2 million plus the 380.
Okay,
So once I spend all of that out, then there will be no more.
Okay.
It'll only be the regular ship funds.
good, we're back to what we were. Okay, that's what I wanted to make clear, thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you, Miss Lori.
Thank you.
Yep. Let's take a recess for about 10 minutes.
In regards to our swing bed program, for critical access hospitals, we have these special designations called swing bed, which are inpatient rehab types of programs. We have a nice new physical therapy room with lots of new equipment as well as occupational therapy. We'd love for you to take advantage of. If you've had something like a joint replacement or some sort of significant hospitalization where you've been weakened, you have a family member, for example, who's had those situations in a different area, and you'd like them close to you so you can visit them or check in on them regularly. We could always offer those services to your family members so you can be close to provide them with emotional and social support.
Tiffin, and welcome to my store. I've been in the furniture business in East Point for over 25 years, and this is our fabulous store. Look at all these accessory pieces we have. And these Sunbrella fabrics are just terrific. This is a good example. We probably have 50 sofas on the floor in Sunbrellas. They're so advanced in their fabric, they won't fade, and they're just real easy to clean. You need to clean them with bleach. This is a product we've been selling for over 20 years. It's called Polywood. It has marine grade stainless steel screws, and you can't wear it out. It's guaranteed 20 years outdoors. I've been in print for 50 years, and I do all kind of art, and we're gonna just show you a lot of our paintings and prints, and my daughter Lacey has these prints. We got some stack paintings of St. George, and we'll show you those in Apalachicola, showing different businesses and places of interest, and we have those little prints that you can come in. Great souvenirs for tourists. As Royce flew in on his drone, he flew over our big log out front. His name's Big Charles, and Mr. Golden pulled that log 5 or 6 years ago out of the river, 30 or 40 feet deep, and it was buried in the mud, so it's the best example of any piece of cypress that's ever come out of the Apalachicola River. This is an example of how these logs end up. This log we've dated is around 2,000 years old. It takes us 5 years to dry these logs. We have to air dry them, split them to get it to this stage, so they're magnificent. We just love these things. One other thing we do here at Tiffin's, we offer a complete line of window treatments from Home Renovations and Shutters, a big wholesaler. So we got everything from shutters to the latest things here, window treatments. Here we have Audra, she's our store manager, does a terrific job. Amy, who sells and does all of our technology. Angie, who's an interior designer. And these girls can come to your home and we can give you advice. You know what to do, there's no charge for it. And then we have Bobby, who's our table maker, and he also helps a little delivering furniture. And we got Nate and Glenn, who deliver furniture that never break anything. They're just wonderful. They've been with me for many, many years. They're just great guys. So we're gonna give you the best possible service at Tiffin's.
Come inside and check us out. We have something for everyone. Hello, welcome to Apalachicola Chocolate and Coffee Company. From our handmade chocolates, fudges, delicious old-fashioned caramel, pies, cookies, including the largest Greek wedding and macaroons you've ever seen. We also make the Italian-style ice cream called gelato, which is adult-tested and kid-approved. We have a full menu coffee bar, from lattes and cappuccinos to some of our signature drinks, such as our affogatos and black bottom coffees. And don't forget about the famous crafted coffee blend. We also roast our coffee beans on site, so it's super fresh. Don't like coffee? We also have teas and lemonade. If you're hungry, we serve breakfast sandwiches on our homemade bread, or we have New York water bagels. Or try the biscuits and gravy that are to die for. We also have lunch sandwiches and soups. We do carry some gluten-free and vegan options as well. Hear what some locals have to say.
I love the biscuits and gravy. You know something? The coffee here is great.
I love the ice cream of the chocolate company.
So come check us out and stay a while. In here, it's just like Cheers, where everybody knows your name. Oh, hey, Dan.
Currently working towards various telehealth programs where we might be able to sit down and talk to specialists one-on-one so we can get on the same page with clinical direction, wound care, endocrine, nutritionists, psychiatry. We have a lot of interesting ideas that we'd like to implement as soon as possible, and we're working towards doing that on a day-to-day basis.
The new Florida's Forgotten Coast app. See the latest beach conditions, things to do, places to get delicious seafood, and great shopping along Florida's Forgotten Coast, plus more. Also, check out the Explore the Forgotten Coast Passport and Forgotten Coast Foodie Passport to be entered for your chance to win a trip to the Forgotten Coast. Download the new Florida's Forgotten Coast app and the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. This mobile app brought to you by the Franklin County Tourist Development Council. Fisherman's Choice Bait and Tackle has all you need for your day of fishing. They have fresh and saltwater bait, an unmatched selection of mirror lures, and a wide selection of Berkley Gulp, plus fresh and live bait and all the rigs and tackle you need for a great day of fishing, including brands like Penn and Shimano. They are also the only bait and tackle shop in Franklin County where you can get a fishing license. And don't miss their wide selection of marine supplies, coolers, and more. Fisherman's Choice is located at 330 Highway 98 in East Point.
Franklin County Board of County Commissioners now back in session. Next up is our first of a couple of scheduled public hearings for today on the rezoning of .129 acres at 336 Patton Road.
Before we go to this particular one, Commissioner, I want to clear something up because especially with the leave no trace, I got a couple of emails. So on a public hearing, there is no need to fill out a virtual speaker card. A speaker card is for all the other county business throughout the meeting outside of public hearings. And most of the times we don't require one for workshops either, because that public workshop is designed for the public to hear their testimony. So I just wanted to clear that up, put it out there in the public's world. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. I see the caller now, so this might be her. All right, Courtney, I'm seeing a number 850-524-1872. Is that the applicant?
Yes, I think that's
Okay,
her.
I'm going to go ahead and allow her to talk and ask her to unmute. Make sure she's on the line. She's unmuted. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Okay, so Courtney, you want to kind of present this and then let the applicant talk after you?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead. It's yours.
Okay, so this is the an ordinance rezoning 0.129 acre of land in section 31, township 8 south, range 6 west from C1 commercial fishing district to C3 commercial recreational district.
Okay, and who's the applicant?
My name is Marcia Watson.
Okay, all right, ma'am, you can go ahead. I'll turn it over to the chairman now, and in case there's any questions from the commission. Good morning.
Good morning.
Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Watson from the commission? Ms. Watson, I would like to ask you a question. This is Ricky Jones. I'm the commissioner of the district. So as I'm looking at and I know we're not approving the site plan today. We're talking about your zoning for your property. But as I'm looking at a potential site plan you have laid out, I guess, and maybe Courtney, you might can help answer this. As long as you know and are aware going forward, when you do get to a site plan, should you get approval today, when you do get to a site plan, whatever the setbacks are, I know it's an odd shaped piece of property, but that is what it is. But whatever the setbacks are, they're gonna be for the entirety of the piece of property. And I know with it being kind of a triangle shape, that's gonna make it very difficult. So I just, Courtney, has that been discussed at all?
Yes, and at this point, with her being rezoning to C3, she's got more options for the property. So she may not decide to just do, the RV park like she wanted to. She may decide to do something else. I told her that we would discuss that after she's had her rezoning, that, we can bring her to office and discuss other options. So she can get the best use for her property.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Courtney. And this is Marcia. Yes, she's 100% correct. My goal and my objective is to do something with that property that, number one, is beneficial to myself, beneficial to Franklin County, but without, a lot of maintenance and things like that, which was the reason I put the RV slot. I have no idea how I will move forward. I absolutely understand that it has to be, whatever I do, once Courtney and I meet and decide what is doable, that it has to be approved by this board again, or has to be approved by this board. And so I'm just at this point just seeking to get the zoning changed so I can see if I can move forward, and if so, in what manner.
Okay. Thank you. So I know nobody's filled out any kind of thing for this, but we should also call for public comment, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So I'm going to call for public comment in a moment. If you'd like to comment on this, being that there's only 2 people that's logged in to do this, please use the raise hand feature, and then I will select you so you can speak to the board. You'll have 3 minutes to address the Board of County Commissioners on this matter. Asking once. Asking a second time. Again, final time. If you'd like to comment on this matter, please just hit the raise hand feature. Mr. Chairman, no one has asked to comment on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment.
Yes.
When we're rezoning from C1 commercial fishing to C3, all of this area along the waterfront is considered coastal high hazard, which means that if the site plan, when we get to that point, is approved as it is, and you put more RVs or you're putting trailers there for rent, you know, as we did with the Readers in East Point, they're supposed to move those trailers every 6 months. If not, then we're found non-compliant with FEMA regulations as far as it comes to flood insurance and other issues. If we're found in non-compliance and permitting something that's not an allowable use, then all the insurance rates for everybody in Franklin County goes up. That's the way I've always understood it. If county staff, Courtney, if you're listening, I'm misrepresenting something here, then please let us know. So I just want to put that out there for the applicant, and there'll be more applicants. As you know, the bay's down. This area was preserved to offload seafood products. The little strip in East Point, the little strip at what we call 2 Mile here in Apalachicola are the only places zoned in Franklin County to offload seafood products. And as we change from C1 zoning to C3 zoning, those opportunities will get less and less. The way the oyster industry is, I'm not sure that we need to continue that because I don't know if the bay's coming back or not. Right now it's closed for 5 years. And people are trying to find other ways to use their property and make money. So I understand all that, but I just want everybody to understand that what we do has to be, the rules have to be followed. If not, we're going to be found out of compliance, and then all the insurance rates for everybody in the county goes up when it pertains to flood insurance and FEMA regulations. So I just wanted to put that out there so the applicant knows that, you know, if she moves forward with putting RV sites or whatever, and the tropical storm is coming, then it's her responsibility to make sure these things are moved. And it's also the responsibility of the county to make sure these things are moved. If not, we will be found in non-compliance should some of these structures be destroyed. So as you're looking at what you'd like to do with your property once it's rezoned, if it's rezoned, these are some of the things that need to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, and I totally appreciate that. And I was actually listening at the last meeting. I just could not, I was chatting with, trying to let y'all know I was on. I finally called, but I heard all of the questions and the concerns, and I want you to know that I am 100% on board with my job. I mean, it's total, have to be compliant with everything that's related to insurance with the commissioner's office, et cetera. So I'm very much aware of that, and that is exactly what I would do. And as I said, should I move forward with an RV spot? And I'm not sure I am, because I'm anxious to speak with Courtney. I see so many going up, and you know, there may be a better option. But I just want the ability to pursue that whatever I pursue, and should it be an RV, obviously there wouldn't be an RV there all the time, but if they happen to be parked there like today, and should this storm decide to change direction and Elsa came over to Franklin County, hopefully and pray God it doesn't, that, and you know, you had to have an immediate evacuation, obviously they would have to evacuate as soon as that warning or notice became and that's what I would have out in any rental agreement I had as well. But again, I don't know how, once I get this approval, which hopefully I'll get, I will meet with Courtney, and we will decide what is good for Franklin County, what is, you know, something that's good to promote it more. I mean, that's my home, and so I grew up there, and I'm interested in doing anything I can to help promote it, but also utilize the property that my daddy left to me. And my goal is to have a legacy for him, some way that I can weave that into whatever I do for Fred Millender.
Thank you, Ms. Marcia. So in between, I never did call for public comments in the room. Anyone in the room want to comment on this before the board possibly takes action? Okay, seeing none. I will say this, commissioners. Again, we're not approving a site plan today. We're just looking at a rezoning of property. knowing that Ms. Watson is from a family that was in seafood, seafood's not really going on right now, and Ms. Watson herself isn't involved in seafood. I do support her being able to change this land use so it can be used, because as it's currently zoned, she would have to do something seafood related to use this property. And I think that would just be, I don't know, Ms. Watson, I'll be honest with you, I don't know how you're gonna find a use for your property, but I know in C1 commercial seafood, you would definitely have a challenge trying to find a use for your property. So I do support the zoning change. I just want to make that known here this morning.
Thank you.
Any commissioners have any questions for Ms. Watson or anything you want to ask or add this morning?
Well, you, before, we kind of didn't, on this triangle and stuff, and on the counter right away, when there was a business like that, we didn't hardly mess with it.
Right.
Let them use it and everything.
Right.
But going forward, the changes and stuff, this thing gonna be, it have to be, measured and done properly.
Yes, sir.
But my thing is, how large would that triangle be after the setbacks and the county? I'm trying to find that out.
Court, are you able to answer that question? Did you hear what Commissioner Lockley asked?
Say the question one more time.
Okay, so with given the setbacks and stuff, how much usable space is actually on this piece of property? Do you know that?
It just depends on what she,
On the
that's one of the
use?
discussions that we're gonna have.
Okay.
If we can get it rezoned, that's,
Okay.
it just to be dependent on what she wants to do with the property.
Okay.
But
But generally, it's, it's the 10
I
and
ain't
10
getting no
and then 25 from the street. And I think that's the same for commercial.
I guess the question would be, Commissioner, is she going to use it for RV, or is she going to put one building in the middle of it, then the setbacks will be different versus using 3 different pads for RV, 2 or 3, I don't know what can fit. So until she comes back with a site plan, like what you guys are referring to, it's kind of hard to determine, how big the building can be based on the setback, et cetera.
According to the drawing they have, and I think by the size of the property, even if Ms. Watson did decide to try to pursue something with RV pads or the little cottage homes, I still think she can only put 2 on this property. Because the property narrows going toward the water, and I just don't see a place to use it back there, even with just putting a pad down.
Yeah.
And I've stood on that property and concur with what you're saying.
I just don't.
As do I.
Yeah.
This is Marcia, and if I were to move forward, that's why the plan that really rough draft of a plan I sent had the space for 2.
Right.
And whether or not I could even do 2, I don't know. It may be 1.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
Until I really get down, and I just, at this point, I was waiting to get the approval to decide what I'm going to do there, if anything,
Right. Any more questions from the commission?
I'm sorry, and that's one of the reasons why I did discuss with her a plan after, if she was able to get a rezoning, a plan for the property. She can have a lot more, she's got a lot more options with rezoning it to C3 as opposed to C1. Because I did drive by the property myself, and that's when I had the conversation with Ms. Watson about other options that would be best for her to utilize that property and get the most for her property.
Right. All right. So, pleasure of the board? Yes, no, table?
I make a motion to approve this zoning request change.
Okay. Have a motion by Commissioner Ward to approve. Have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
You can say it. You don't have to step down.
Well, we've not really done that, Commissioner Lockley, so I would, nobody like.
The chairman stated that he was in favor of it, so I'll make the second.
Okay, have a second by Commissioner Parrish. Any more discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous, Jessica.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I promise you I will do everything I can, whatever I do that will benefit Franklin County, which I still feel is my home.
Yes, ma'am. We look forward to seeing your site plan and know that we still have another hurdle to go through. Thank you, Ms. Watson.
Oh, I understand. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Michael, it's still not 11. Do you think we have time to do the bid opening between
Oh,
now
I
and then?
think we sure do. And thank you, Courtney. Good luck.
Because we're waiting to 11 to start the next public hearing.
Yep. Okay, you want to read your little thing?
Okay.
You want to stand up there and give them the prices? Or you want to, you can do it from there.
Oh, okay.
I'll hand it to you.
Okay.
Just give it to you.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'll go ahead and read this part. Okay, pursuant to the regulations found at 2 Code of Federal Regulations, Part 200, it's in addition to the statutory authority requirements and programmatic guidance governing the Federal Emergency Management Agency disaster recovery programs, that the Franklin County Board of County Commissioners will receive sealed bids from any qualified person, company, or corporation interested in constructing C-30A washout repair. The project is located at 2 different sections of C-30A in Franklin County, Florida, and consists of regrading the embankment, patching asphalt roadway due to storm damage, installing articulated concrete blocks, and remove and replace riprap rubble. Okay. And our first bidder is going to be Pygott Asphalt and Sidewalk out of Crawfordville, Florida. Pygott's bid is, let's look here.
Mike, we had no sheets for this.
Yeah, I was just.
My bad, we didn't create a, we didn't create a, thing sheet. Okay, I'm sorry, the bid sheet, so you have to write them in the back of your notes or something.
What
I'm
was
sorry,
the
Commissioner.
first company, Aaron, I'm sorry?
The first
Yeah,
company is
yeah,
Pygott Asphalt and Sidewalk from Crawfordville, Florida.
Michael, you have a pen?
Oh, yes, I do.
And the total base bid is $816,218.34. All right, this next firm is going to be North Florida Construction Incorporated from Clarksville, Florida. And their bid is $927,515.50.
Did they send in a bond with these? Or do they have to send a bond with?
Should have been included.
On the first?
Yes, sir, Mr. Noah, and Clay will also check all of these once we turn them over to him, just to confirm that they were the lowest responsive bidder. Okay. Next, we have Anderson Columbia from Monticello, Florida. $1,248,749.29.
Read that number again, please. Read that number again.
Let's see, that is $1,248,749.29. This next one is C.W. Roberts Contracting from Tallahassee, Florida. $1,426,821.83. Again, $1,426,821.83. Gosh, okay. Sorry. Okay. And the last one is Duggar Excavating Incorporated from Crawfordville, Florida. $843,188.41. Again, $843,188.41.
So now they go to
And,
the engineer?
yeah, now they go back to the engineer, Clay Kennedy, with authorization from the board,
And then he'll come back.
with a recommendation.
With a, recommendation for the board.
You're gonna come back at the next meeting and tell us every one of these bids are about
August.
3 times
Yes.
what's the allowable amount.
Yes,
So
we
I don't
had-
know where it goes from there.
328,000 available in the FEMA PW,
Correct.
so,
Correct.
yeah, so we are gonna have to go back to FEMA on this one, I'm sure.
Correct.
Can I get clarification? Is part of this 330A also that eastern section in Carabel where 330A joins 98? No, it's just all to the west of that.
It's all
over here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, there is a PW available for that one, Bert, but we have not got to working on that one yet.
Okay, understood.
And really and truly, whoever speaks with FEMA, this is a mitigation project.
Yes.
So they're supposed to allow you more money to get the project done because you're trying to mitigate damage in the future. And this $300,000, I knew from the very beginning was not gonna meet the mitigation that we're wanting to do to prevent future damage, which costs FEMA and the federal government money in the future if you don't mitigate it and try to prevent that damage from happening. So that needs to be reiterated with whoever's dealing with FEMA on behalf of the county that, you know, the project itself is just gonna require more money to get done.
That's proven by the bids we have here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep, and the spirit of those bids did include mitigation, all part of that,
It
right?
did.
Good point. That's good documentation.
But it also, the county has to pay 25% of that, or whatever our cost share is gonna be, maybe not 25, maybe it's down to 12.5, but it's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
That we have to come up with as our part. The higher these bids are, the more money the county has to come up with.
So we're seeking a motion to turn this over to a review committee consisting of.
To the engineer to do
To the
better.
engineer,
Yeah,
okay.
Engineer Clay Kennedy.
I'll make that motion, we turn this over to review by the county engineer of record.
Second. We have a motion by
Comment.
Commissioner Parrish, second by Commissioner Lockley.
With a
Go ahead,
comment.
Commissioner.
You know, FEMA need to open up an asphalt company. They always send that small amount to us. And we got to deal with this and go back and forth, back and forth and back. So if they can figure out that, they need to open up them asphalt company and do their own repair. That's the only thing, maybe we should write them a letter and tell them that. So that's crazy, I mean, they, $300,000 and these people bidding $1.3 million.
Yeah.
They bid almost bidding $1 million over, some of the companies. So that's too much difference there.
That's a lot of difference, Commissioner.
I know.
That is a lot of difference. And I tell you what, it hadn't helped, and this is just from talking with Miss Pam over the whole time since Hurricane Michael hit. All the projects and everything that's coming up that are trying to receive FEMA funds for, I don't think we've had, maybe a month at a time, we've had the same FEMA reps working with the county staff to try to get it done. But most of the time, maybe a month and a half, where you're dealing with a new FEMA person.
Yeah.
And you're starting over again. And you're dealing with a new, it's just a cycle headed to nowhere. And obviously, the prices of what things are in the real world are not being calculated by FEMA. And there's nothing we can do about that but ask, you know what I mean? But it's really slowed things down. And coronavirus didn't help, but this is just a difference in pricing though.
Yeah, I would tell you, thank goodness Mr. Pierce isn't here today, because you have a 15-minute speech
Yes.
on Alligator Point and what
Yes.
FEMA did to him there, so.
Yes.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe,
Yeah.
one more thing, maybe we need to, maybe some of this stuff need to be looked at again, because yesterday, I guess for the stuff they buy, well, yesterday the wood went down 50%, so I guess other things went down 50%. So maybe I don't know whether they bid this on the high number or what.
Sure they did.
it might need to be looked at again. I don't know.
So when we think of our budget process coming up, you know, in the next several weeks, do we need to be forecasting that 12.5% that we're going to ultimately have to guess at and contribute to this? How do we plan that long-term, money-wise, in our taxes?
We have different ways of getting that, I believe, right now.
Okay.
We got some money from the state that can be used for 2 or 3 different projects.
Okay.
Such as the one over at the park over in Carabel that got destroyed, that we have money set aside for that. We have money set aside for this.
Okay.
If it's not too much.
Okay.
You know, depending on what the bid comes in at and what our share is, all that's yet to be determined.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a Hurricane Michael recovery grant that the county was awarded for $750,000, and that was actually part of the source for doing the grant match requirement for the C30 project.
And the further we can stretch that, the less we have to come up with.
Mr. Chairman, with the American Rescue Relief Fund Act that they initiated, it was mentioned at our conference that you are able to use these funds for road and bridge work, just an FYI. And Aaron, I was going to get with you about that later, talk about what they discussed,
Okay.
but I've got some slides from the presentation, but just that's something we can always keep in the back of our head too, if push comes to shove.
Okay.
All right. So any more discussion before we vote on this? We're sending it to the review committee, which consists of the
Basically, the engineer.
engineer of record for the county, Mr. Clay Kinley from Dewberry. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous. All right. Thank you, thank you. Now we will go back to our next scheduled public hearing. Leave no trace.
All right, may I proceed, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. I've delivered to you this morning an executive summary of the changes that are proposed by this ordinance that you're going to be considering this morning. The caption of the ordinance is an ordinance of Franklin County, Florida, amending ordinance 2014-1, the Leave No Trace ordinance for the purpose of amending the definition of public beach to include all public beaches at Carabel Beach, Alligator Point, and Bald Point, Franklin County, Florida, to include the city of Carabel, and substituting the county coordinator for the director of administrative services, providing for a penalty for unattended holes on the public beach, a penalty for holes in the public beach which are not filled prior to leaving the public beach, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. The board did not direct me to propose a penalty for the digging of holes, but the sheriff did. So I've added in a proposed penalty of a second-degree misdemeanor for the violation of that provision of the ordinance. Second-degree misdemeanor is up to a $500 fine and or up to 60 days in jail. With that, Mr. Chairman, I would ask for the board to call for public comment on this proposed ordinance unless the board has any questions directly towards me.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Attorney Schuler before we proceed?
I do have a question. I guess we all got this email about fires on the beach. I see a section here. I just looked up Unicode. I didn't see anything pertaining to this. Actually, I saw where they were allowing fires in these months for fishermen back. I don't know when the ordinance was updated, but is this a current ordinance about fires on the beach as well, or?
I received this email this morning, I guess the same way the rest of the board did, and what I'm interpreting from the email is they're asking this person, Ms. Croson, is asking the board to consider adding a provision into the ordinance that would essentially ban fires on the beach during turtle season. This ordinance that's before you today does not include that provision, nor has it been advertised for any purpose other than an expansion of the boundaries of the Leave No Trace ordinance. I've been thinking about whether or not this would be considered a substantive amendment that would require further public hearing in terms of adding in a provision prohibiting fires on the beach during turtle season. In my opinion, I think that it would be a substantive change simply because Well, for two reasons. One, it is a completely different subject matter than what this ordinance hearing has been scheduled for. And then secondly, we do have an existing ordinance on the books, which essentially allows for warming fires. So I think if the board wanted to move forward with a further regulation of fires on the beach, we would need to schedule a different public hearing. So I don't think we can add that into this particular provision of the ordinance to amend the boundaries of the Leave No Trace ordinance.
So let me ask this question, Attorney Shore.
Yes, sir.
So if, we haven't really discussed it yet, but if the board were wanting to add something like that, would it be better to table this public hearing to add that in or take action today? I'm just asking your.
I've also thought about that,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, and I think it's obviously the board's decision, but I think it's 6 of one, half dozen of another.
Right.
I think there is certainly some merit to proceeding with expanding the boundaries of the Leave No Trace at this time. And then if the board so directs, I will schedule a further public hearing to consider the issue of fires on the beach during the turtle season.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Well, in a situation like that, we got to be careful how we do that, because you can have a recreation of fire, or either you can have people who working might pull up on the beach and make a fire to keep warm. So what we need to do is be careful on that and make sure if somebody out there fishing in the wintertime and get cold and you pull up on the beach and make them a fire to warm up, I don't think they should be fined. Keep a person freezing there. But
Right.
as long as we, if we do it, we just with some, make sure we have the right wording and that'll help people who just not out there having fun. The workers, look out for the workers.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say, Commissioner Lockley, in response to the question you're asking, the Leave No Trace ordinance, as I understand, starts in May, correct?
I was
And it's
just,
6 months?
it starts certainly after winter has concluded. I think it runs into October, but maybe someone with more knowledge about turtle nesting than myself can answer that question. But I think it's clearly over with before we get into the deeply into the cold winter months.
Okay.
And it, of course, being turtle nesting season.
Okay, when we get to public comments, I'm sure some of the people in the room that want to comment will know about that, but I believe it's from May to September. I could be wrong, but that would kind of cut out in other words, I think we could word it in such a way that it wouldn't be detrimental to what others are wanting to do on the beach, especially when they're working or doing stuff during the winter time.
Yeah, but you get cold, you get rainy and cold.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and
it ain't got to be winter time.
No, it don't.
And we would have to look perhaps at some of the regulatory requirements for people that are, obviously if you're commercial fishing, that's one thing, you'll have a license, and that could be sort of your get out of jail free card. I would have to put a little more further thought into recreational fishermen and things of that nature, because I'm not sure how we would distinguish one, a non-commercial from a commercial person, and also give protection to the person that doesn't have the commercial licensure.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
On the last paragraph from this email, it says, Section 4 of the LNT Leave No Trace states that items shall be placed close to the toe of the dune. We need this to be changed to remove from the beach. Turtles are trying to nest in the dunes, which I don't know so much about, and the large piles of chairs and coolers and other personal items are causing dangerous obstacles for the turtles. So basically, they want you to rewrite the Leave No Trace ordinance. Not only with fires, but leaving stuff at the toe of the dune. The turtles are trying to nest inside the dunes. I've never heard of that. I've always seen them nest and seen the nest marked on the beach, not in the dunes. So I don't know. So it's not just amending the fire. They want you to amend other things within the Leave No Trace ordinance. Seems like to me we need to look in. The board needs to determine what they want to do with this, and maybe we need to rewrite the whole ordinance, and at that time include Carabel Beach, Alligator Point, Ball Point, and just rewrite the whole darn thing rather than having all these public hearings to amend this and amend that, and amend this and amend that. I mean, I don't know how the board feels about it or if they even want to amend it. But if we do, it just seems like to me it wouldn't do much good to move forward today and then have to turn around and rewrite the whole ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, if I'd like to add something, I did speak with a Carabel, someone that sits on their board, and they were requested, we got into a text conversation last evening about, and a phone conversation about how they feel like the City of Carabel verbiage should be taken and omitted out of the ordinance, the Leave No Trace ordinance as well. And I see where Attorney Schuler had basically stated that, and I agree, that the City of Carabel within the geographical boundaries, basically item number 2, but I'll just read it for the record, includes the City of Carabel within geographic boundaries of the ordinance, because although the beach is outside the city limits, virtually all of the rental properties are inside the city limits, including the city will require those persons renting properties to provide the Leave No Trace information to their guests. And I see Attorney Schuler's reasoning in placing this in the ordinance pertaining to rentals, VRBOs, etc. But out of request for the City of Carabel verbiage to be removed, I kind of agree with Commissioner Parrish, with all these other items, it may be best that we maybe table this to future, just to address all these, so that, again, we're not readdressing and reinventing the wheel and consistently and constantly having to have a public hearing about an ordinance to update it every time something comes up.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
The 2 campgrounds across from Carabel Public Beach.
Yes, sir.
Those are inside the city limits of Carabel.
Yes, sir.
These are the things I feel like the attorney's trying to address when he says they need to supply the campers, whatever, with the information stating that if you take chairs and all out there on the beach, we have a Leave No Trace ordinance, you need to remove those when you leave at night. So I can see why the attorney included this, because he wants everybody to be aware that even though they're in the City of Carabel city limits, that beach is within the public's, the county's jurisdiction, and there is, as we're talking about expanding the Leave No Trace to Carabel Beach, then they'll be compelled to comply. I understand the City of Carabel feels like something's being shoved down their throat, but how do you include Leave No Trace on Carabel Beach and then not have those people notified that they're potentially have to remove everything they take to the beach, they have to remove every night? So I don't know how the board wants to proceed with that, but.
Yeah. Well, it might be you guys tell me how you want to proceed. It might be a better idea, even if you're thinking about you want to table this. We do have people that are wanting to comment about it today. So it might be good to go ahead and take that public comment or that input from citizens, so it can kind of help formulate what we're discussing here amongst each other today. I think that'd be appropriate.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
You got the TDC. They're putting out, come to Franklin County and visit. When they get here, some of them people gonna stay a week, 2 weeks. And they right on the beach. They set up a little something. They got teared now and towed it back and forth to wherever they stand every night. I mean, I can see if they leave it after they leave. But why they got to walk that stuff back and forth every day behind a turtle? I'm not a turtle fan. I'm not a turtle fan and I'm not a tree fan. Because the turtle, they do everything in the world for the turtle. And they go to Mexico and go up there and the people eat them. They protect them here. Once they hit that water, they don't monitor them or nothing else. And they go to other countries and it'd be a good eating. But now you can't do this. They got them people spending millions of dollars over there in them houses for lights and everything. I'm tired of trailers having more say than people. I mean, trailers is more protected than people. Water power, cut your lights off. Trailers, you got to block the light and everything else.
Mr. Chairman.
Trailer fan.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I thought.
Never been.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Lockett, didn't mean to interrupt you. I was going to address your issue about having to remove items from the beach, which ties in with the email and Commissioner Parrish's comments. That was the purpose of the original ordinance in allowing people to relocate their personal property to the toe of the dune to get those personal property items as far away from the open sandy surface of the beach as possible, so that to address that exact issue of people not having to lug things back and forth to rental houses every day of their trip.
I know, but
So that's the reason that that provision is in the ordinance.
I know, but you still got to move it for a trailer.
Yes, sir. That's the ordinance.
That's what it's breaking down. You got to move it from 20 feet to behind the dune for kind of trailer. But you done paid $2,500 or $3,000 to just vacation here. That don't make sense. I'm not thinking about that trailer.
Some of that is federal regulations that we're having to comply with.
Yes.
As far as the turtle lighting and everything else.
I know it.
We can't change that.
I know, but I just don't go along with it.
Right, I understand.
I'm just speaking my opinion about it.
Right.
That's just one man's opinion. I just don't like turtles.
Well, going forward, whatever we have with a leave no trace ordinance or whatever it looks like, I do think we also need to address the enforcement of it, because you can have any number of plans that the government puts together, but if there's no arm to enforce it, because we're not enforcement. Us 5 commissioners are not the enforcement arm of this county. We're not designed to be. But there needs to be a way for it to be enforced, whether it's lighting or whatever we do, whatever we decide, whether it's lighting, whether it's removing stuff off the beach, or at least moving it up to where it's not in the way. At the end of the day, I think, Commissioner, I hear what you're saying, but Commissioner Lockley, I do think us asking people to move stuff off the beach is not that big of an issue for me, because at the same reason we're asking them to just leave it the way they found it. That's all we're asking them to do.
Yeah.
We don't have much beach here. We just want it to stay the way it was when they got here. You know, so with digging holes and stuff like that, I mean, it might not seem like a whole lot, but if you're walking early in the morning and you don't know there's a hole there, you step in it, well, guess what? You're going to be needing a medical facility or a first responder, and all you're trying to do is walk down the beach in Franklin County. So I will say that while we're discussing it.
Well, since we doing all this, and we got to come up with that, I think you're gonna need a code enforcement,
Very well said. Yes, sir.
because we don't have no code enforcement.
No, we don't.
We get the other, what they want the law to take over this now, not.
I don't know, but we definitely shouldn't do that without them being present in the room.
That's right. I mean, you got to have somebody to
Yes.
do the thing.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just for the public's benefit, the enforcement mechanism here presently is if they have left their personal property on the beach and haven't relocated either off the beach or to the toe of the dune, county staff through Parks and Rec will go by and pick it up and haul it off to the dump for them. It's considered abandoned property if they don't comply with the ordinance, and then it's disposed of. So that's pretty significant enforcement measure that this board has implemented.
Oh, yeah, for that, but we really don't have a valid or a mechanism that's working for issues like turtle lighting.
Correct.
What we have just isn't working, is all I'm, you know.
Yeah, because turtle lighting is, you know, the building department, the zoning department,
Yeah.
they all get blamed for enforcing the turtle lighting. And in reality, that's a law enforcement. We act as the administrator to send the letters out and, you know, and then come back to this board and report if they've come in compliance or not. With the exception of the building official as he reviews the plans to make sure the lights are in compliance, That's it. That's our role as it relates to the turtle lighting. And Commissioner Lockley, to say, I hear you when you say what we don't have is a code enforcement officer, but when there are issues, they're brought to this board, and this board makes decisions as to how we deal with outside of this, how we deal with other code enforcement issues throughout the county. So we have it, we just don't have an officer out there patrolling and enforcing, is what it is.
But you got the people who monitoring the tailor, they be enforcing too. People don't want to hear that when they just spent their money coming out here on vacation. Tell the people it's okay, but I just don't like turtles and tree people. They tell you got to, some place, the other place they tell you can't cut a tree in your yard. Them two rules I don't go along with. My tree, and I don't do turtles.
Okay. Any commissioners have anything else they want to say before we call for public comment or discuss? I think we about hit every limb on the tree this morning, but just in case we hadn't. So should I?
Do you want to take the virtual ones?
Yeah, because some of these people are probably attending virtually.
Yeah,
So let's start with the virtual ones
I know
first.
Ms. Ackerman is on the line. There's a Belinda on the line. If you guys, well, I know Ms. Ackerman sent in a request, so I'm gonna go ahead and click up so she can talk, and after that, then I'll ask, there's a name on the list, Belinda. If you are interested in speaking on this, please click the raise your hand feature so that I'll come to you next, okay? And anybody else that's on the line. And Ms. Ackerman, if you guys, you would unmute. Ms. Ackerman, unmuted, okay. Good morning, still morning. Good morning, Ms. Ackerman. You could state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes to address the Board of County Commissioners.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Georgia Ackerman with Apalachicola Riverkeeper. And for starters, I'd like to thank you for continuing with the virtual attendance option. It makes it more efficient when we're attending various commission meetings around the county. So thank you for that option. I sent an email of support regarding the ordinance because Apalachicola Riverkeeper recognizes that the ecology and economy of our region are closely connected. And so by caring for the beaches, it's helpful also for the economy, for public health. As Commissioner Jones pointed out, people aren't getting hurt falling in holes. We've all had some of those experiences. It sounds like you may be taking a deeper dive, so to speak, and examining the ordinance more fully. So we would be happy to participate and help in that process if that's what you decide to do. So otherwise, if the amendment moves forward as it is, we're in support of the expansion of the regional trace ordinance, and feel free to call on me if needed.
Thank you, Ms. Georgia.
Okay, let me, the person with the screen name, Belinda, would you like to speak on this matter? Actually, I'm going to, yes, there we go. And if you would unmute, screen name Belinda, you can go ahead. State your name for the record. You're still muted. I would need you to unmute your microphone. There's a little icon with a microphone. Okay, there you go. All right, good morning. State your name for the record. You have 3 minutes to address the Board of County Commissioners.
My name is Belinda Wharton, and I'm a volunteer that lives here in Carabel. I work with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission as a volunteer with shorebirds, and also help out Kate Snyder, who is our area turtle expert. And I just wanted to speak out in response to the discussion today. I know FWC would be very happy to provide any data that shows that the ordinance does need to be applied to the entire county and not just St. George Island. And I'm sure Kate Snyder, who's unable to be on today, she's traveling, would be willing to be another expert opinion as far as the ordinance goes and any changes that need to be considered. And that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. And Michael, the other ones, unless there's somebody else virtually, everyone else that filled out a speaker card is actually in the room.
Okay, good. Evan, before I go, did you want to say anything about this, or you're just monitoring the meeting? If you raise it, if I don't see a raised hand, I'll figure that. I know Ms. Quinn is here for the next the next public hearing that we have. So yes, Commissioner, you may want to go ahead and take the ones in the room.
Okay. Anyone in the room? Public comments? It doesn't matter who's first.
Just state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes to address the board. Good morning.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Shannon Bothwell. I'm a Sea Turtle Patrol volunteer. I'm happy to have the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about turtles. We are very fortunate here in Franklin County that we actually have the highest density of endangered sea turtle nesting in the entire Florida Panhandle. And it is mostly on our barrier islands like St. George and Little St. George, but we do have nests on places like Alligator Point and Carabel. So as a sea turtle volunteer, I'm here to speak in support of expanding the ordinance to cover the entire county. But in addition, as we'll talk about a little bit, we do feel that the ordinance should be modernized and updated a bit to come more in line with what other counties that host endangered species like we do, with what they're doing around the state. And there are two main items which you already have the email talking about. One is the issue of fires, and the second is removing items from the dune. So I'll talk just a little bit about the fires. Our sea turtle nesting season is from May 1 to October 31, and the other communities that are major host sites like us do ban fires on the recreational fires on the beach. So for example, Panama City Beach, Daytona Beach, folks are still able to have plenty of fun in Panama City and plenty of fun in Daytona, even though they're not allowed to have recreational bonfires on the beach. I'm sure the reason is obvious. The light from the bonfire is distracting for the turtles, can disorient them, and of course the turtles can be injured if they walk through embers or ashes that haven't been totally put out. So it's a kind of a common sense thing that a lot of other communities have been doing. So we certainly support the option, however you guys want to proceed, to sort of modernize our ordinance and bring it more in line with what other communities around the state are doing. And I guess the last point I would like to make is that I feel our turtles are an important enhancement for our community and an attraction. When we're out working with nests, inevitably we have visitors that come up and they ask questions. They want to bring their kids. They want to show people what is going on with the turtles. It's the highlight of their vacation on St. George to know that they had a turtle nest, right outside the house that they're renting. So I think it's valuable for us from an economic development standpoint to protect these endangered species. And as was already pointed out, we have a lot of federal laws around this as well. So the more we can do to advise our visitors what are the best practices, I think they really want to do the right thing. Our guests love the turtles, they want to help the turtles. By improving our leave no trace ordinance, we can give them an opportunity to do the right thing by telling them what that is. Thank you. If you have any questions, yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got it. As it pertains to, as I said earlier about leaving items placed close to the toe of the dunes, needs to be changed. Says turtles are trying to nest in the dunes. I've never seen that. I've seen a lot of turtle nests, Indian Pass Beach, St. George Island. I've never seen no turtle nests in the dune.
So,
have you?
Yes, they do both. Some of them don't make it all the way up to the dune, and they do put their nest in that fore part of the beach. But a significant number of them are specifically looking to nest in the dunes, including our most endangered species, which are the green sea turtles. They prefer to be up in the dune, up where the vegetation is, for their nest.
So we're trying to accommodate it, as you heard Commissioner Lockley say, he doesn't like us mandating that everybody has to remove everything from the beach. So there's provision in the current ordinance that says must be placed at the toe of the dune. So you're telling me that turtles do nest in the dune?
Yeah, that's correct. And I believe one of our other speakers is going to talk to you about that in a little more detail. But yes, they do nest in the dunes, in addition to being on the sand part of the beach.
I have another question. Relative to fires on the beach and realizing that there are recreational fires, that there are commercial reasons for fires and so on. And the fires are put out, and yet there is residual from that fire. There are, 2 or 3 foot pieces of wood that are still sitting in the sand and all of that. What impairments does a dead fire pit have for turtles that you would know of?
Right, so if it's mostly put out but still hot, there's obviously the opportunity for either an incoming mom turtle to walk right through that and become burned or injured. And conversely, if we have hatchlings that are coming out, they can walk through that and become, covered in soot, burned, injured, and it's a hazard.
I'm thinking of, 2 days down the road, fire's out, everything's gone, but there's still wood, sticks, and charred lumber, whatever that is, in that fire area that was never removed because it was all hot to begin with. Now it's gone and forgotten, and it's still there. Is that an appropriate comment, and is that actually a fact?
I think that is more of an issue when we have the baby turtles hatching, because they are very tiny. They come out of little eggs, and having debris on the beach just makes it physically difficult for them to reach the ocean, which is where they want to go live. So if you do have a pile of lumber or what have you there, it is an obstacle for them. No question about that.
What can I say, sir?
Yes, sir.
Well, I guess it'll be fine. When do the turtles nest?
So our official nesting season is May 1 through October 31. The first beginning part of that is the nesting, and then when we get into October, that's really just the last nests hatching.
So I guess it'll be fine if we just close the beaches during that time.
I don't think that's necessary. I think that people can live in harmony with the turtles if we help folks understand what their responsibility is, to just leave no trace, as the ordinance says.
Well, y'all just do sea turtles, because I live on the hill, and there's a lot of stink gems be crawling every day. What they do about them?
I'm not sure how to answer that question. I'm sorry.
Okay. If you're gonna protect the turtles, protect the turtles. I don't know.
Anyone else have any?
Yeah, I mean, just to be clear, what we're talking about here is the marine turtles, sea turtles.
Thank you, Ms. Bob.
That's your
Right.
favor to them.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you.
Next. Anyone else?
Good morning, everyone. My name's Kimberly Crossan, and I have been with the Sea Turtle Patrol for this is my 5th season. And Mr. Parrish, if you don't mind, I do have a lot of photos of where the turtles are nesting in the dunes that I would love to share with you.
Okay.
If you have time to.
That address is on the county website. You can send them to my iPad here.
Oh, okay. And can I pass them up to you now?
Just send them to everybody where we can all see what.
Yeah, that way we can all
'cause I've
see
never
it.
seen a turtle nest within the dune.
Okay, so I patrol the first 1.5 miles outside of the state park. Of the 23 nests that I currently have on the beach, 19 of them are high in the dune.
Okay.
Were you gonna say something? Oh, okay. So my ask is that we completely remove items from the beach. We're the highest nesting density beach in the northwest subset of Florida. Panama City, all of Fort Walton, South Walton, Mexico Beach. Everyone else asks that people completely remove their items from the beach. We have them at the toe of the dune. I have pictures right here from just the other day where a nesting mom had to go around a huge pile of stuff. Now, 2 things could have happened. She was lucky, but she could have either A, been entangled, or B, turned around and not nested and chosen to go out and, drop her clutch in the water. We're trying to live in harmony and with these turtles. And Mr. Lockley, I'm sorry that you don't like turtles. We definitely don't want to close the beach. We want everybody to live in harmony and enjoy the beach. But I think we can do it better. I think that we can remove the stuff to our homes or the rental homes. It's not a problem. Not only is it a hazard to the turtles, but it's a hazard to our first responders as well. I am a former first responder for the St. George Island Fire Department. And, you guys know that we have had a lot of recent issues. If there are a lot of obstacles left on the beach and our team is trying to drive on it, it's going to impede them from getting to the humans that need their help. So it's not just for the turtles. It would be beneficial for the humans as well. And I wrote this. The FWC and the DEP asks that all of the coastal counties have no obstacles on the beach at night. And it is up to the individual county whether or not they do that, but we would really like it if you would consider just removing it all the way.
Well, ma'am, it's like this. The reason I don't go along with the turtle
Yes,
is
sir.
because y'all do all this monitoring for them to be born. Once they born, hit the water, it's over with. I mean, you don't put a plug, put one of them devices in them to see where, or nothing. You might, but
We actually do, sir. We do tag the turtles. We have a team that comes in for 2 weeks out of the year that do tag the turtles and monitor them, monitor their feeding. There's a ton of research going on that is in St. George Island is so important to this research.
I'm talking about when they get to Mexico and people eat them.
Well, sir, I think since 1970 that's kind of been outlawed. I'm not sure that they're still eating them in Mexico, but I hope not. But we can't control Mexico. What we can control is St. George Island, and with all of our neighboring counties enforcing such stricter ordinance than us, I really think that as the highest nesting density beach in the Panhandle, that we could at least meet, if not exceed, what the other people are doing. And I'm not asking for, nobody to ever go on the beach again by any means. I'm just saying, please pick up your stuff. The pictures that I have where the mother had to go around a huge obstacle, in 55 days, these babies are gonna hatch and they're gonna have to go over these same obstacles. When these babies have to deal with ants, crabs, birds, before they even get to the water, only 1 in 1,000 make it to adulthood. And we have to do everything that we can to protect them. I mean, we are all related. It's a circle. What happens in the ocean is gonna affect us as well.
But you never thought I was commercial fisherman, but in them 55 days when y'all made them put them turtle shoots in, I went hungry.
You went home?
I went hungry.
Because
I'm catching less to eat.
Oh, what?
Catching less.
You're catching less fish because of the turtle excluder devices?
The turtle shoot, when you put them in them swamp nets, all right there, you protecting the turtle, but you starving me.
Well, sir, I mean, I don't think you're starving, but if you are, you can come to my house and I'll be glad to make you dinner. I think that we have to work together, and I don't know that, I'm not asking for turtle excluder devices. I just think we need to remove our stuff from the beach and not have fires in the evenings. And would you, if you live over here in Appalach, would you consider coming over to the island and taking a walk with me?
I done walked through that 20 years ago.
Well, would you like to come see it now?
Huh?
Would you like to come see it now?
Nah, I still ain't gonna like them turtles. I don't like turtles, and I don't like people telling me I can't cut my trees.
You can't cut your trees. Okay.
Does anyone else have any questions for Ms. Crossan while she's
Just
here?
briefly, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Educate me on, I have a question and a follow-up.
Yes, sir.
With regard to baby turtles, what is the etiquette and rule when the turtle is hatched, and let's say there's a covey of 20 or 30 of them?
Yes, sir.
What's appropriate for aiming them to the water? Can the layman or
No.
We would prefer
teach me
nobody,
that?
we would
No.
prefer not to
Just
interfere
let
with them at all.
nature, even though they're going the wrong way, sometimes do they need help, and how is that done, if at all?
If they are disoriented and say perhaps they're under a house, then we will immediately, Janice is our permit holder, and she will call me, and I will
I see.
dispatch me, and I will get there immediately.
So
and
there are trained folks that just actually can handle this then?
Yes, sir.
Get them in the right direction?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay. And
And then also we're on the beach, you know, first thing in the morning. And like I said, I live on the island. Most of the volunteers lived on the island. Janice is our coordinator and permit holder. So she will dispatch us if there is a hatchling in danger or a disorientation. And we will go out there anytime, day or night, and gather up the turtles and get them safely in the water.
So I asked that question mainly for the public to hear that. I think it's very, very good education for folks to have known that. The other side is I believe in a continuity and consistency here, and we talk about fires on the beach. And I do appreciate the hot and the cold, the fire on and off, and who's warmed and who isn't. But, you know, this spotty idea of fires on the beach everywhere, I'm concerned about 2 days later and the fire's out and there's still sticks and logs or whatever there was in that so-called pit that may be partially covered up with sand, cooled down and everything else, still junks the beach, provides impairment for foot traffic, and
Correct.
provides impairment for any other traffic, animal or otherwise. And I would consider something in the way of a fire issue ordinance that we put fires at a designated specific place on the beach if we're going to have them at all. I'd rather just no fires at all, period, on the beach ever.
And sir, if I may comment on that, it's not just, they're not just using wood, they're using construction debris. People are going to all of the new construction. They're using pressure treated lumber that has nails in it. And
I thought about that.
These are things that we have to deal with in the morning. So it's not just the turtles, but you know, I don't know if you have children or if you remember when they were very young. You can turn your head for 1 second and that toddler is out, even if you're the best parent in the world. Well, now that toddler has a chance of stepping on a nail, stepping on hot coals. So it's not just the beach, and we're certainly not the fun police, but there are things that need to be done that in a responsible manner. And I do agree with you with, you know, maybe a designated area. And if we could keep that to, the ordinance actually reads a small warming fire. You and I both know that we don't need a warming fire on the beach right now.
Okay, so let's, for the benefit of the others that want to comment, let's kind of wrap this up, please.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Janice Becker, and I'm the Sea Turtle Program Coordinator and the Marine Turtle Permit Holder for St. George Island. This is my 8th year doing sea turtle conservation work on SGI and my 6th year coordinating the program. I want to voice my support for expanding the Leave No Trace ordinance for all of Franklin County, and I'm also in favor of addressing the situation of holes being left. My team surveys the beach May through October, and we frequently locate huge holes that aren't just a danger for sea turtles, but they can be a problem for people as well. One thing about sea turtles that isn't commonly known is that they can't back up. Their bodies are built for the water, and so it's our responsibility to make their brief time on land as easy as possible. Sea turtles come up to nest all during the night, so if one comes up at 9 p.m. and falls into a hole and is entrapped, my team isn't on the beach until 6 a.m., and by that time the turtle will be in critical situation. Hatchlings can also become entrapped in holes, and they'll waste energy that they need to swim out to safety. It also gives predators easy access to the hatchlings. I also think this is a good time to address 2 other problems on the beach. I'd like to see fires prohibited May through October. Sea turtles are very sensitive to light, and the light of just one fire reaches for miles, both east and west, with the way that the island is shaped. Nesting females try to stay away from light, so the fires might prevent her from coming up to nest, and hatchlings are drawn toward the light. My team continuously sees evidence of fires on the beach, and sometimes the fires are still lit and smoldering. Of course, we wouldn't want a nesting female or hatchlings to crawl over or into a fire. I've even seen pallets brought out to the beach to burn, and then you most likely have nails on the beach, so fires can be a problem for people as well, which has been mentioned. And then the language within the ordinance of taking items up to the toe of the dune should be removed. Beach gear and personal items need to be taken completely off of the beach. The landscape of the beach continues to change due to storm systems that occur each year, and it's best for the sea turtles to nest in the dunes. We are having more and more green sea turtle nests every year, and greens are high nesters. They almost always go into the dunes to nest. So if a sea turtle crawls into beach gear at the dune, it's just as detrimental as if the gear was left closer to the tide. Many times I've seen nesting females crawl into gear and then turn around and not nest. There's been strandings recorded before, not here, but where nesting females become entrapped in beach chairs. Sometimes they can't move off of the beach due to being entrapped, and other times they crawl back to the water, still entrapped in the chair, and then drown. Again, we need to make the beaches clean, dark, and flat for the nesting females to be able to nest and for hatchlings to safely make it to the Gulf. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
You know, I can go along with, let's say, no fires on the beach. Okay, I'll vote on that if y'all take the trailer part out. But I vote on not digging a hole if you take the trailer part out. Trailer dig holes to go in there and put the eggs in. Somebody digging. They be under the ground. But we got, for public safety, I can say no fire. For the digging the hole, no fire. But I ain't gonna do that to protect the turtle.
Well, that's the thing. It
I'll
works
protect
hand
the
in
people.
hand. Excuse me.
I'll protect the people. Cause that's part of my job, public safety.
Well, again, sea turtles are protected federally, which has been mentioned, but it works hand in hand when you're protecting people with not having these huge holes, not having fires still on the beach. You're also protecting the sea turtles.
Yeah, but they don't protect them up down the hill, don't think, you know. They got turtles crawling all over the hill. Ain't nobody come up there. You got
I don't
to
know
think,
what hill you're talking about.
You got to stop, let them cross the road. They go. It's a little turtle about that big.
Okay.
I think he's referring to like a lot of the box turtles you see
Okay.
around homes and stuff like that. He said, what protection is there for them? I guess.
There's protection as they are endangered species.
They ain't endangered. They crawl all over.
Janice, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any more public comments? Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just to clarify, I've heard several of the speakers here this morning refer to expanding the Leave No Trace ordinance countywide. I want to clarify that's not, you know, a factually accurate statement. It's being expanded to include two additional actually three geographical areas that have public beaches, at Alligator Point, Ball Point, and Carabel Beach. For example, it does not include any of the barrier islands other than St. George, so, which means Little St. George is out, St. Vincent is out, Dog Island is also out, because the county has no effective means of patrolling those beaches. So,
But,
just wanted to clarify that for everyone.
And to further clarify your point, Attorney Shore.
Yes.
On St. George Island, it is what I remember of, but I just want to make sure I'm accurate. With what's enforced on St. George Island, it's from 12th Street East to 12th Street West, the area commonly referred to as public beach area.
Yes, sir. That is
Not the
correct.
plantation, not the state parks.
Correct.
And
The
not the
state park
bayside.
patrols their own, is my understanding.
And not the bayside.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're all understanding the same thing. Okay? So, how does the board feel about what we have in front of us? Do you think we should table it to try to work out and include some of the comments we've had today? How do you guys feel about it?
The only recommendation I would ask the board to consider, I've mentioned to you earlier that the sheriff had contacted me about the holes on the beach being an issue for his department from an enforcement standpoint, because the ordinance as originally written had no specific enforcement criteria. So If the board is inclined to table, I would ask that you at least consider adopting the penalty for people that are digging the holes and leaving them, leaving them unattended, or they leave the beach and they leave the hole not filled back up to natural graves. I think the sheriff has asked for the board to give him some tools to enforce your current ordinance.
Okay. So are you saying, Attorney Schuler, to go ahead and, if the board's so inclined to make a motion to include the fine for leaving holes dug on the beach?
That is correct. And then the other issues that the board wants to come back at a future public hearing and address all of these other issues, then we will have already taken care of something that frankly was lacking in the original ordinance from 2014.
So I want to ask a question, and I'm not trying to be indifferent about it. If a hole's already dug, how are we going to find somebody? How are you going to know who did it?
Well, that is a matter of whether you're on the scene while they're digging it and
Right.
see them in attendance. I
Right,
mean, obviously,
okay.
if they've disappeared and left the hole, then
Right.
it won't be a perfect enforcement mechanism, but
Well, I just assumed that we're not asking our sheriff's department to sit there all day and watch if they dig a hole, that if they cover it up before they leave.
would not presume to tell the sheriff how to
I
do
mean, you know what I'm
his job.
saying? I foresee that to be a problem is all I'm saying.
Sure.
'Cause
So AJ does come out when there are very large holes, and he will.
ma'am, if you're going to speak, please come to the platform.
Sorry.
And that's fine.
So what has happened in the past is when there are giant holes in the morning, we will call AJ, and he will come out and he will go with us and knock on the door to address them, because there are times that they are so unbelievably big
Right.
that
Oh, I've seen some of the pictures. I know what you're talking about.
right, that he has to have Fonda help him
Right.
cover.
I also know that most people aren't going to say, "Yeah, I did it," when they know they're expecting to pay
Correct,
$500.
but when it's right behind the house,
Yeah.
it's
But anyway, just a question.
okay. Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so pleasure of the board.
Well, I think the summary that Attorney Schuler said is what I would motion.
Okay.
That we want to give immediate protection to the
Holes.
immediate authorization for the sheriff to have jurisdiction over these holes issues. But the rest of the ordinance should be tabled with additional research done to add comments what we've heard.
And in your motion that you're making, Commissioner Bolt, are you also adding that there's a penalty that goes with the leaving of the holes?
Yes.
As recommended by Attorney Schuler?
Yes, sir. I am.
Okay.
And that's in our executive summary that we have today.
Right. Yes.
I hate to delay this further, but be that as it may, with all the issues that have come up today, I second Commissioner Bolt's motion to table and the other part.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor and we have a second. Do we have any more discussion before we vote? So what we're doing today is taking Attorney Schuler's advice, and we are adopting or adding to the Leave No Trace ordinance that we currently have about a penalty for leaving unattended holes on the beach, and that penalty being a second-degree misdemeanor with a up to $500 fine or 60 days in jail, and tabling the rest of this ordinance to be worked out and maybe reconsidered at a later date. Is that what I understand?
Taking into consideration the comments that have been made today
Right.
by the testifiers.
Okay.
Please.
So seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passes unanimously.
I voted for the people, not the Taylors.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes the first public hearing. Does the board
We're
want to take a break, or you want to move right into the second public hearing, which is the amendment to your flood control ordinance? I know Ms. Quinn, I heard Mr. Morone mention that Ms. Quinn was on the phone at 11 o'clock, so she's been holding for a while.
Yeah. I think we can go ahead and do it, but if we don't get everything wrapped up by 12:30, I think we should take a lunch break and come back, or at least consider it. How does the rest of the board feel about that?
Let's press on to 12:30.
All right, so next up is our public hearing about our flood ordinance.
Mike is.
Okay, so you have Angela is, Ms. Lally, your floodplain administrator, is on the line, and I'm going to.
Let me just read the caption in. Commissioners, this is a public hearing on an ordinance by the Franklin County Board of County Commissioners amending Franklin County Code of Ordinances to amend Chapter 5.5 Buildings and Building Regulations, to amend Chapter 6.5 Flood Damage Prevention, providing for applicability, providing for repealer, severability, and an effective date. I have asked Ms. Rebecca Quinn to make a brief presentation to the board summarizing the changes to the ordinance. Ms. Quinn is the FEMA consultant, and she has drafted this particular ordinance that is being presented here today. So, Mike, with that.
Ms. Quinn, you're unmuted, and I see you are ready to talk. Good morning. State your name for the record, and you can have your short comments. Thank you very much.
Yes, good morning. My name is Rebecca Quinn. I'm a consultant with the Florida Division of Emergency Management, the State Floodplain Management Office. I've been working with the DEM office for over 10 years on floodplain ordinances and building codes. And I worked with the county back in, I believe it was 2014, to develop the regulations that you currently have in place. I have been working with Mr. Schuler, but most recently with Ms. Lally, to finalize what you see in front of you. There are, I can go blow by blow, but I think the big picture elements are, there's the technical changes that make a difference. One is you currently have a requirement to kind of a 10-year look back on proposed improvements or repairs for existing buildings that are in the mapped floodplain. And that is being proposed to reduce from 10 years down to 1 year. The primary intent for short periods is to discourage deliberate phasing of projects to circumvent rules. We have quite a few communities and counties in Florida that have a 1 year look back. Quite a few also have a 10-year, but many have a 1 year as well. There are a number of, I would say, minor, almost editorial, correcting cross-references. I'm sorry, there's another building code amendment to remove a current restriction on the size of enclosures under elevated buildings. That exceeds the minimums, the flood insurance program minimums. It also exceeds the minimums in the Florida Building Code. And so that would be no longer effective going forward. FEMA last year put out guidance for agricultural structures and accessory structures. And the Division of Emergency Management, working with FEMA, developed model language for counties and communities to include in their regulations. And this proposed ordinance includes the agricultural structure provision. FEMA has a very specific definition, which is included, and FEMA requires that, I should have qualified, any agricultural structure can be approved to go in the floodplain. What this does is says the agricultural structure under certain circumstances does not have to be elevated or what we call dry flood proofed. It can be built to allow water to flow in and out. We've added what we call an administrative variant. Let me talk about accessory structures first. FEMA guidance also has provisions to allow by permit accessory structures for parking and storage only to be at grade, built to allow water to flow in and out rather than elevated. But the FEMA requirement says that applies only up to 600 square feet. And so with FEMA permission, this draft includes what we call an administrative variance that would allow the county to extend that same authorization without having to go through the full variance process. You will note that provision currently has, and that's on, I believe, page 61, it's highlighted in blue. It currently has a blank, and I'll allow Ms. Lally to address, or it's got an insert position. I'll allow her to address that in a minute. There's one more thing that this section, these amendments do. The county is what we call, participates in the flood insurance program community rating system. And the county is currently a class 7, which means people who buy federal flood insurance get fairly significant discounts on their insurance. Well, last year that FEMA program established a minimum in order to maintain your class 7. You need to require all manufactured homes, both new installations and replacements, to be fully elevated to base flood elevation +1. And that is accomplished in this draft. And I don't know if you want Ms. Lally to speak to that blue highlighted text on page, I believe it's 61 in your agenda, or if you'd like to, I could answer questions now or after that.
Ms. Quinn, this is Ricky Jones, Commissioner of District 1. I would like to ask a question because I'm looking in here and I think I see what I'm looking for. One of the biggest, in my memory or recollection, things that the board brought out that they definitely wanted to address in updating this ordinance was the fact of moving it from a 10-year, basically, where you can only do the improvements on a 10-year schedule versus a much smaller schedule, and I think it's a 1-year. I thought I saw that here just a minute ago when I was thumbing through, but I can't come back to it. Is that addressed in this revision that we're considering?
Yes, sir. It's done in 2 places. The definition is substantial improvement.
Okay.
And on page 3 of the ordinance is the amendment to modify the building code and the existing building code. And then that same change to the definition is on page 28 of the ordinance, which is 68 of your agenda.
Okay. Yeah, so this would basically, by this revision, what we're looking at, because we run into this with Hurricane Michael somewhat, you have residents that have had living in coastal Florida, and they've had substantial damage to their home, their dwelling place, and they were on a 10-year time frame to be able to do improvements. So if another storm come, it didn't matter if they had a storm a year. They were on a 10-year time frame to do improvements. This would move that and make it now 1 year.
Yes, sir. But okay. I'd like to clarify. There is nothing in this ordinance that limits people from making improvements or repairs. The basic requirement is when the cost of those improvements or repairs equals or exceeds 50% of the market value of the building.
Right.
Then bringing it into compliance is required.
Right.
The change from 10-year to 1 year is, if it was 10 years, you would, every time someone applies for a permit, you'd start adding it up. And if that addition triggered 50%, then you would require compliance. Changing it to the 1 year, that basic 50% still is there.
Right.
People can make improvements anytime they want. This just says you're not going to keep a running total that looks back more than 1 year.
Exactly. Whereas before we were keeping a running total over a decade.
Correct.
Right. That's what we're definitely wanting to address in my memory anyway. Or one of the things. Okay, does anyone else have any questions for Ms. Quinn or any follow-up from what we have
So
here?
basically, this allows people, if you have a hurricane, it does damage to your building, then you can fix the building. But you don't go back 10 years. You had a hurricane 10
Correct.
years ago and you made improvements to the building or repaired the building. You're not going back to use that to establish that the building has now been damaged 50% over a 10-year period.
Yeah. Yes.
Instead of like an event.
Yes.
Right,
That's what we're addressing here today.
right, right.
So from what I understand, and good morning again, Ms. Quinn, it's basically, it's every year that 50% that number resets.
Right.
Basically, rather than this running tab of 10 years worth of repairs.
Right.
Yes.
So if you made a repair this year for a hurricane, 3 years from now, you make another repair for a hurricane, you can't go back and say, well, now you've been destroyed over 50% over a 10-year period, so now you can't do anything with the building.
That's
Right.
what I understand, yes.
Okay.
Right,
Mr. Chairman.
yes.
Hi, Ms. Quinn, this is Michael Schuler. Just for the board's edification, I seem to recall you and I having a conversation at the end of last year where some communities, instead of having either a 10-year or a 1-year period of time to calculate that 50% threshold, do I correctly recall that some communities have that 50% threshold per storm event?
Well, there are two things here. There's a definition for substantial damage, and your definition for substantial damage has no look-back period in it. However, the definition of substantial improvement includes repairs as well as any other improvements. If a building sustains in a single event damage that equals or exceeds 50% of the market value, then it meets the definition of substantial damage. Suppose last year a tree hit the corner of the building and the cost to repair was, 10%. But now a hurricane comes through a year later, if you make this change, you would not add that 10% to the new damage. Now, if someone came in and wanted to improve their building and say it added up to 45%, under this definition, they don't have to do anything to bring it into compliance. Of course, that means they are making a significant investment in an at-risk building, but there is no requirement to do anything else. But if now you get a windstorm and say they've used up 45% and now they get a damage of say 10%, and it's within a 1-year look back, the 45 plus the 10 exceeds 50%, and then you would trigger compliance. This cumulative provision, we call it cumulative substantial improvement, does exceed the NFIP minimums and the building code minimums, which is why you see these shown as amendments in the building code. I'd say maybe a third of all Florida's 450 some communities have a look back period, ranging from 1 year to life of structure. But that also means about 2/3 don't have any look back. And as I said, the primary reason we understand for the 1 year is because some people try to game the system. They'll do 45% this year, and then they'll wait they'll wait 6 months, close out that permit, and do another 40%. There's no way to completely avoid human nature, but I was just explaining the primary reason for a 1 year look back. And Ms. Lally may have something to add in terms of experience with these look back provisions.
Ms. Quinn, let me restate the question a little bit differently. If you have 2 storm events during 1 calendar year, if the board were to, and if it's even allowable to have a per storm event 50% threshold, so what's currently on the table is a 1-year look-back period. If it's allowed to have a per storm event 50% threshold, you had multiple storms in 1 year, which totaled more than 50%, say after the second storm.
Yes.
Is that something that the board could consider, or are you recommending that they stick with the 1-year look-back period?
My role is to help you accomplish what the board wants to accomplish, as long as you don't weaken the building code or go below the NFIP minimums. What you just described would be restore this definition to the basic no look back definition. Right now, it's got any combination of repair, reconstruction, etc. So if you had 2 storm events in a 12-month period with no 1-year look back, you would evaluate each repair on its own. And I think that's what you mean by a one-time 50% with no look back.
That is
So
correct.
yes, the board could elect to completely remove a look back. And then each instance of repair and each instance of improvement would be considered on its own, as long as each permit is closed out before the next one is applied for. That's a basic premise of building code work.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Quinn. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Quinn, would that have, maybe I'm not asking you something you can't know or don't answer. Sorry, I said that backwards. You don't know or can't answer. If we were to try to adopt, say the board was considering a no look back period, is that going to adversely affect those people in the county that are in the mandatory flood insurance program?
The CRS program.
Or the CRS program?
I believe that's what you're asking.
Well, I can partially answer that. It is my understanding that the community rating system requires at least a 5-year look back in order to give credit.
Okay.
It's not a lot of points, and I don't know specifically how many the county gets for this. I could look it up. But if you go from a 10 to a 1, you're already going to lose a few points.
Okay.
I don't know whether it's enough to change your class or the percentages. That gets into territory that no one beyond the FEMA people who do that work can figure out how they assign points.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I really like this idea of no look back. It's streamlined. It takes a huge burden off of paper keeping and record keeping. That 10-year look back was exhausting and inaccurate to calculate. However, I do want to emphasize the almighty importance of maintaining high standards of building code construction throughout this entire issue. And I would default on high building codes in exchange for no look back, and be sure that we have all that in place every time.
So, Attorney Schuler, if there are no more questions from the commissioners for Ms. Quinn, are we in a procedural place to take public comment?
Yes, sir. Well, back up.
If-
Ms. Quinn had referenced during her presentation, there's a blank space in the ordinance that she thinks Ms. Lawley needs to address the board on.
Okay.
Is that something that's still necessary information for the board, Ms. Quinn?
Yes, because I explained to Ms. Lawley this morning, right now, it's in italics. This is on page 61 of your agenda, page 21 of the ordinance. It's got a placeholder in italics, insert position. And in my capacity working for the Florida Division of Emergency Management, they will require that that position be designated before they approve. And I'll let Ms. Lally explain.
Okay, so Ms. Quinn and I have discussed the administrative variance requirement. So she has informed me that it needs to be someone outside of the building department that would be in charge of that. My thought on that would be the appropriate person would be the zoning administrator, since she already deals with variances, but that would be the pleasure of the board, how you would like to proceed with that.
Yeah, if I may, the FEMA and state instruction is that it needs to be someone other than the person who makes permit decisions. And so that in this ordinance is the floodplain administrator or the building official. And outside of that, as Ms. Lally says, it's the board's decision as to what position to put in there.
If I may, it sounds to me like Mrs. Lally is correct. I would say the zoning administrator is the next person, and the planner, the county planner, would be the backup to the zoning administrator. So we just need to officially insert that. Ladies, is that what you're saying? Insert that title to be that person in that placeholder?
If that's the official decision, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
Our planning zoning administrator, is she aware of this new task?
Probably not.
I think we might need to get her input before, I mean, that's just me. I would like people to include me in something that's a decision based on what I'm gonna be doing in the job that I'm gonna be performing. I don't know if she's still online or available, but.
No, Courtney's not. She actually had an appointment this morning, so.
Angela, this is Rebecca Quinn again. When I asked what recommendation you were going to make, I believe you told me you spoke with someone in management above that position. Is that correct?
I thought that I had spoken with someone, but maybe we didn't.
Well, Angela, no, that could have been me, but to answer the Commissioner Ward's point, no, I have not had that discussion with Courtney, is that Mrs. Bankson is yet. So what she's basically saying is that we should have that discussion with her and explain to her before we go ahead and publicly nominate her to that, I guess.
So procedurally, though,
We have to make.
we have to make a decision.
I know, so, if I may, Commissioner Ward, could we go ahead and just add it? If there's a problem, I'll come back to the board and explain to the board where we are. I don't think it will be, and I'm sorry, I could have discussed it with Courtney, it's not sticking out in my mind, but
I know
I will.
procedurally we have to move forward, and I do agree with that, but I'm the type of person that I like to get, if I'm gonna be tasked with something, I like to know about it before I get, thrown into something that I'm not aware of, so. Just my thought. I'm one of 5.
Yes, Commissioner. I hear Commissioner Ward. I don't foresee it being a problem with Courtney. Again, if it is, I'll discuss it with Courtney and Mark, and then I'll get back to the board and say what it's one way or the other. But I would ask the board, yes, to move on. Let's go ahead and put the zoning administrator's title in there to fill that placeholder.
Okay. So are there anyone from the public on the line that would like to comment?
Okay, if anyone in the public, there's, again, Ms. Ackerman and Evan, if you guys would like to talk about this, please select raise hand, the raise hand feature on your device. And they've been on the line most of the day, so no, they're not. I don't think they want to comment on this, sir.
Okay. Well, don't think there's any public in the room who want to comment. Mr. Ted, do you want to comment on this?
Ted, yeah, we have.
Procedurally, I have to ask.
Yes.
Okay. So how does the board feel about it? I guess we're talking about adding the title in of who's gonna be responsible for this, and we're talking about either going to a 1 year or a no look back provision for this floodplain ordinance. So that's, how does the board feel about it?
I like the no look back at all.
Okay.
It's consistent, clean, easy to manage. But just, I always want to say in the same sentence, I don't want to compromise building code. I want to err on the higher level of building code, if anything.
What would any look back provision, Commissioner Bolt, you were tasking people in our office to keep up with each location, amounts of times, amounts of money's been, you know what I mean? That's a lot to keep up with, especially the 10-year, and that's definitely not what we're discussing today.
No,
We're trying
yeah.
to get away from that 10-year provision, but it's up to the board whether you want it to be a 1 year look back or a per storm event like some of our neighboring counties do. No, it's a pleasure of this board.
All the data for the look back is already in the permitting process, correct?
Yes.
So we already have it.
Yeah, but you have to keep up with it though, because so here's how it works over time. If I have a house that's $1 million house, let's use round figures, it's $1 million house, but I'm actually paying taxes to the tax office for $500,000. And Hurricane Michael comes in and takes out $200,000, right? Well, I'm able to do that repair because it's 50%, but now you have to keep up with not only that repair that was done, you have to know, make sure if that house values went up or went down, I mean, they're more than just what the repair they did.
Yeah.
The house value changes too, and you're tasking the county staff to keep up with all that by having a look back provision.
Yes, and if I may, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to say one more thing, and I won't ask Angela, and I think Steve, our billing official, might be in the office too. I'll say it. So, real world situation, if someone comes to us with $1 million house and they need to change out the windows, and because they want to put in fancy windows or whatever type of windows, but it goes over that 50%, and we tell them no, guess what happens, commissioners? They put them in anyway, and we just don't get, they don't come for a permit. It's happened on a few occasions, and we can't catch everything. I'm sorry, commissioners, we just can't. So I would prefer that if we could do something where we do get to permit them, and Steve does get to inspect them and make sure it's doing right, if it's a no look back, or if it's a 1 year look back, we go that route, so that we have better control as to what happened. I'm not gonna stand here and tell you that after Hurricane Michael, and even after Sally, there was some, flooding and destruction here, that didn't happen because of this 10-year look back. It is. I mean, it happened. I'd like to avoid that if we can.
So what's the pleasure of the board?
I'm in a pretty safe area, and I just go along with whoever got some dealing with it. So, like you got, you know more about it, but up down where I'm at, we've been blessed without flood. I don't know.
So, Mr. Chairman, you're basically looking for a motion to, number one, add the zoning administrator to that placeholder position.
Right.
And to either state a no look back or a 1 year look back.
Right.
So we could proceed with this public hearing.
Yes, and I would say this before any motions are made. In the district I represent, I would think that having multiple storms in 1 year, and they can both be hurricanes because we've had it happen before, can be a real possibility. So I'm in favor of doing it with no look back provision, no storm to storm event. But I'm only one of 5.
I'll lead the motion that we make that provision a no look back provision.
Okay.
And that we
And
add
that we
the
have-
zoning administrator.
We have
to
a
that
zoning
placeholder.
administrator
Okay.
in that slot that you're
And I will
looking for.
report back to the board if that's a problem.
Yes.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Bolt.
I'll second.
We have a second by Commissioner Lockley. Any more discussion?
Is this going with the 1 year?
This is going with no look back.
No look back at
Storm
all.
to
No
storm.
look back at all.
No look back at all.
Storm to storm, exactly. And then, do we want to emphasize that we really want high-quality building compliance in the same sentence? I mean, the spirit of this motion isn't the Wild West here. This is really important that any repairs that be made really be, our standards are higher.
While you're thinking about that, Attorney Schuler, should we say declared storms to make it more specific so that any wind that blows through here is not considered a storm?
Ms. Quinn,
Oh,
did
I'm
you hear the
sorry.
question?
Yes, I'm sorry. Now you're beginning to modify the basic and flooded federal definition.
Okay.
The federal definition is damage of any cause. So if lightning hits one building or there's some other fire cause and it damages it to the point that it costs more than 50% of the market value of the building, not the land, but the building, then the requirement for compliance is triggered.
Okay.
So it's of any cause.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more discussion before we vote?
I just want to make sure we're going from a 10-year look back to no look back.
That's the motion on the table, yes, sir.
Moby D, Mr. Perry, do you have much dealing with this in your?
No, but I don't like going from a 10-year look back to 0 look back. To me, we're going too far in the opposite direction. I like the 1 year. So if the motion goes forward, I will oppose it because I like the 1 year as opposed to no look back whatsoever.
Okay. Well, I'll ask on your behalf, Commissioner Parrish, does anyone want to amend their motion to make it 1 year? If not, we'll proceed with what we have on the table.
I'll amend my motion to 1 year. We've got some old pros here in the room that understand this damage issue a lot. And it certainly is, again, even a much more streamlined than the 10-year archaic look back we have. So to press this thing on and for quality assurance, I'll go 1 year.
Okay. Do you amend your motion, Commissioner? Or
Yes,
second?
I amend my second.
Okay.
1 year.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. That's good.
Any more discussion before we vote? So we're taking to it from a 10-year to a 1 year provision on the look back, and we're adding county staff to
Yes.
oversee.
The zoning
The zoning
administrator to
part of
be
it.
more specific, yes.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
Mrs. Quinn,
Mr.
Mrs.
Chairman, that
Lally.
Thank you.
concludes the public hearing.
Thank
Yes,
you
sir.
all so much.
That was very good.
Did we ever use that? That's what I-
Good.
Yes. Yes.
We did?
Mhm.
Thank you. Yes, we did. Once again, thank you, Mrs. Quinn. Thank you, Mrs. Lally, so much.
Okay, so Commissioners, we are down to Ms. Aaron's report and Mr. Marone's report. Do y'all want to break for lunch? What's the pleasure of the
We
board?
could, if we come back, it'll take us, what, maybe 45 minutes, maybe?
Oh, yeah, I don't think it'd be that long.
That long, so, yeah, we could, and come back.
So do y'all want to come back at 1:30, an hour from now?
That's fine, because getting lunch in town might be a little rough, so yeah.
Yes. Okay. So
All right,
we'll
we'll
adjourn
be
till.
done.